Good to go.
Well, welcome back, Coach. It's been a few weeks. Some stuff's changed in the football world, I'm sure, and maybe we'll get into that on this round.
Yeah, we played a couple more games since then, and getting to know the kids a little bit better, and their strengths, their weaknesses, and
good.
Yeah, no, it's been good. The buy-in of the kids have been great,
Great.
Down here. So,
well, I want to say thanks for coming on the first time, and thanks for coming back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, looking back on it, I feel like I really get rambling. So I don't know how you keep me in line a little bit, but
we'll see what we can do.
Certain things come to my mind, especially when it was talking about childhood and stuff. Some of it I haven't talked about in years, and
sure.
So,
yep, no, that's fine. I think we kept it in a general direction last time. We'll see if we can do the same on this one.
Yeah, tried to somewhat keep it in having some type of order, a little bit, but until there was an order, and I'm all over the place, but
that's all right. So I think where we're at right now is we just are coming up to the senior year of college for you. So that'd be at SUU.
Yeah, I played at Southern Utah State. It was called at the time SUSC.
Right.
Southern Utah State College. Played football there for 4 years, and really enjoyed my time there. And I think we had talked. I'd met my wife.
Yep.
She was a freshman when I was and I was a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm not sure how much we went into there. I think
we had talked about going up to Idaho and talking to.
That was after we was married, going into my senior year. Yeah. And
then you had to come back for school because it was in between. It was before your senior year, before you graduated, but they wanted to talk to you beforehand.
Right. Yeah. So I was actually in my senior year. I mean, once I started thinking a little bit more about it. So I was in my senior year, and it was right when football had ended. So It was just as, I want to say probably November, November time, something like that. The athletic director down there at the time got a hold of me and just said that this school up in Idaho was looking for a young coach to help, coach like 3 sports, and wanted to know if I'd have any interest in going up and at least talking to him, because he knew I was, going to be a teacher and a coach. And And I told him, I would be interested. So that was my first interview ever for a teaching, coaching job, whatever. And so we rode up there, and I just remember that it's kind of up in the Bear Lake area, Grace, Idaho. There's Soda Springs. It's by Bear Lake, Preston. Mm-hmm. We had our first child in Preston, Idaho. So out of my 4 kids, one of them was born in Idaho.
Oh.
So
poor child.
I know she's going, why was I the one that was, anyway. But no, it was all good. But so we went up there, and I had the interview, and after I got done with the interview, they basically offered me the job. I mean, and it wouldn't start till the following year. Mm-hmm. So basically I had the offer, and it wasn't how I thought it would work out. I think sometimes things work out like they're supposed to, because, I was hoping that I'd get a teaching, coaching job, maybe at a school closer to home. Mm-hmm. My wife grew up in Sandy, Utah, and at the time I was living in, it was called Hunter, but now it's West Valley. It was near Hunter High School at the time. Hunter High wasn't even there at that time, but that's where we grew up, is near where Hunter High is now. And so we debated, though, but it was like, okay, I've got an offer right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I could go through and interview at other places, and there's a chance I might be offered, but you just never knew what would happen. And so we made a decision to just go ahead and accept the job, knowing that we would have something, right off as soon as I graduated. We'd be off and starting with the new career or whatever. Yeah. As far as that went. So my time at Grace was that was so my first that obviously my first time I'd ever really coached, and they asked me to be the head track coach, which I had done a little bit of track in junior high, but other than that, hadn't hardly done any because baseball was my thing, and baseball
Same
and
time.
track were always at the same time.
Right.
So didn't know a lot about track, but I just remember ordering in a couple of books on track workouts, for all, for all events. Because I had no idea, what do I do with, the distance runners compared to the sprinters, compared to the, whatever the guys
shot
were
put, thrower,
doing.
high jumps
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
The different things. So
And how big is the school up there?
the school, I want to say at the time it was maybe at the most a couple hundred kids.
Okay.
I mean, it was maybe I want to say 200 to 300 kids, something like that.
Okay.
But it was small. It was it'd be a 1 or 2A school even up there. I mean, they played 11-man football, and it was so they were in the 2A league up there, whatever the 2A was there at the time. But and then they asked me to also be a assistant basketball and assistant football. So we get up there, and I'm there for about 2 weeks. We're working with the football kids, and I was the D coordinator of the varsity football team.
Sweet.
The head coach was also the basketball coach, and he was doing the offense. I don't remember having a whole lot of help. We didn't have a bunch of coaches like helping us. Just thinking back on it or whatever. But it was a really good experience. It was one where I had to learn to, now basically coach and I remember at the time going, okay, is this guy going to let me, are we going to run my defense? Is it going to be what he wants? Is it going to be, and once we got there, I think it was kind of a combination of him letting me call the defense, but he had a base defense that he wanted to do. And then I had some of my ideas from playing all the way up through college and stuff. And so,
and when you played mostly, I want to say, didn't you switch part of the way through? You were offensive and you switched to defense?
Yeah, high school I played both ways. I didn't hardly ever come off the field, but I did like returns, and I did, so I played both and never hardly come out at all. Which was awesome, just how I wanted, and I always enjoyed. At the time, I look like an offense or defensive lineman now, but wasn't always like that. I was lean and fast for a lot of years, but I was always one of the fastest kids on our team in that. So my freshman year, I went down on scholarship, and I think we talked about it. I went down on a baseball, football, with the plan to do both.
And then they did like run plays, and you were a receiver or something like that, right?
Yeah, they ran the option. They ran.
Yeah.
They didn't throw the ball a whole lot, and I was playing receiver, so really I was just pretty much blocking. So at the end of my freshman year, which I lettered, and it was a good experience, but I went to the coach and just says, "Hey, could I move to defense in the spring, or for next year? Can I move to defense?" And he goes, "Yeah, whatever. If that's what you want to do, we know you could do either." And
do you have a preference on what you like to play?
If they were getting the ball to me in that, I mean, I liked having the ball in my hands and that, but it was just. So in high school, I was playing running back. They'd move me from running back to receiver to just move me around, but they would get the ball. I mean, I was. I mean, they got the ball to me quite a bit, and then I go there, and it was my freshman year. I lettered, and I was on all the travel teams and stuff. I was on special teams, and then rotated in at receiver. I wasn't a starter, but I rotated in, but I knew at the end of the year that I definitely wanted to switch over to defense if that was possible, and part of that was my high school coach came down as the defensive coordinator my freshman year when I was there, when I first accepted the scholarship to Southern Utah, it was, to come be an offensive player and play receiver, which was okay. It was fine. But then at the end of that freshman year, I just felt like I wanted to make the switch. Felt like my personality too was more aggressive, wanted to be more of a hitter, and
Gotcha.
Playing defense. I felt like I could help the team even more. So I switched. But I think I'm pretty sure I told you I was working out with the baseball kids in the spring of my freshman year, and we went out it might have only been 1 or 2 practices, but it wasn't very many practices, because we went out, and I just remember being over there at a baseball practice, and over the fence was the football team just starting spring ball, and it was killing me being over with the baseball team when I knew that a lot of my football guys that I had just played with that freshman year were over there, and they were earning positions and spots.
Right, yeah.
And it didn't take me long. I just went to the baseball coach, says, you know what, I really feel like I need to be over there with the football team. And went, and within, that next day I got my gear and was out playing spring ball again. And I'd made the switch to safety at that point, but the switch was pretty easy because like I said, my high school coach, which was my D coordinator in high school, was also my college defensive coordinator, and so that made it pretty easy to make the switch.
So in Idaho, you were defensive coordinator. Is that so? Do you have a preference on what you coach? If you're going to be just a coordinator, not a head coach, do you have one that you'd rather?
I was always a little bit more of a defensive minded.
Okay.
Especially my last 3 years of college was just totally playing defense and I didn't do any offense at all. So for 3 straight years, my mind was all about defense and strategy and, the different things that we ran in college.
So it was good to get that position that's defensive coordinator.
Exactly. Yeah, that fit me pretty good. Because, I had been just played for 4 years and then, but the defensive coordinator, I had, my college schemes and everything were fresh on my mind. And it was an easy transition. And we had a good year. So that first year at Grace, we had a good year in football. I think probably did better than what they maybe was anticipating.
Nice.
One of those. So my very first sport that I ever coached was football, and it went well. It was a good experience. And then I remember the basketball coach. He was also the football coach at the time, but he was known more as a basketball coach, but just kind of took the head football job because there was, at the time, I don't know if there was nobody else, or that he was like, yeah, I don't mind doing it for a year or two or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so we got done, football ended, and I just remember it. I couldn't even tell you exactly what our record was or anything as far as that goes, but it was a good year. I think for the kids, the coaches, school, it was, I would say we probably won a couple more games than what was expected, or we didn't go win a state championship or anything, but it was good experience. Got to know the kids and started to get to know the people, a little bit in the community. Okay, and then basketball come around, and they asked me to be the freshman basketball. So there they had a freshman team that was kind of on their own, and then they did JV and varsity was together. There wasn't a sophomore team. Okay. Sophomore was kind of the JV. And so the head coach and another guy was coaching basically the varsity and the JV teams, and I would coach in the morning because of gym time and stuff. They had me just coaching the 9th grade team by myself. And I played high school basketball. I was actually our leading scorer in high school my senior year. And I think we talked a little bit about my experience. Basketball was definitely my sport that I didn't spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
It
was like a gap sport.
It was, yeah. It definitely was, the one that I did because it was right between football and baseball, which was my two two sports that I really enjoyed the best. So, but I remember football ended and I'm talking to the coach and, we're starting tryouts in basketball. And I just remember him coming up to me at some point. I don't remember when it was, probably right before tryout started or whatever. And he goes, "Kay, I want to make sure you understand." He goes, "I know you're really competitive, from coaching with you in football. Okay, I know you're really competitive." He goes, "But I want you to know right now that our freshman group, they haven't hardly won a game, growing up as 6th, 7th, 8th graders, whatever. This is just not a real talented group of kids. And so we don't expect you to win very many games. And so don't take that personal,
Right.
because I'm just giving you a heads up. We all know that we're going to struggle with this 9th grade group." And I just remember, kind of listening and going, well, okay, and because, like I said, I did play basketball also. And I remember he just turned me loose. It wasn't even like, "I want you to run this and this and this defense, this offense, this whatever." I just took things from my playing days and playing rec basketball and doing, intramurals and all that, in college and, which I still was actively doing that kind of stuff. I was even playing in a men's basketball league in Grace Side. Actually, It was in Soda Springs, but we had a group of guys from Grace that we just went and played in a men's league, which was fun at the time. But anyway, I ended up selecting this team. I think we had like 8 kids as all, these 9th graders. And I remember one of the kids that was on the team, he really was struggled. The kid, I can't imagine, would have made too many more other basketball teams, but it was a kid that worked hard and was, but basketball skill just was, not very good. So I could see what the coach was talking about after we made our, I don't even know if it was tryouts, to be honest. I think every 9th grader that came out
to play,
they were on the team.
Yeah.
And whether that was 8 or 9 kids, I want to say it was less than 10. I don't remember us being able to do a scrimmage or whatever. But I do remember it kind of like going, well, all right, he warned me, what, this was going to be a challenge. But I was always like, my whole life, and everything I've ever did, I was always very competitive. And I just don't take, we're not going to be very good as an answer. And I remember, and our practices were like at 6 a.m. or 6:30. We had to go like an hour and a half before school started to be able to get gym time.
Okay.
That part I remember for sure. So I was just coaching by myself and coaching these kids. And I want to say we ended up having, I want to say we had 15 games for that freshman team that year. And to make a long story a little shorter, we ended up 13-2.
Dang.
And our only 2 losses were to Malad, Idaho. Malad was a little bit bigger school than us. And the Malad freshman team went like 15-0. They went undefeated. And our only 2 losses was to Malad. And we won every other game. And the kids, the parents, the head coach, the print, everybody was just like, wow, what, how did you get this out of these kids? And I remember, I was pretty strict with them, and I was, we worked hard to try to get him to execute well. And I ended up becoming really close with some of those freshman kids. One kid in particular, his name was Roy Matthews. And Roy lived in a little town that was just outside of Grace. There was a lot of small towns that fed into the one high school. It was a farming community.
Kind of like North Sanpete.
Exactly. Yeah. Not nearly as big as Sanpete, but kind of the same type of deal with these little towns here and there. And Roy, his mom and dad, they were farmers, but they ran a mink farm. They did mink, and it was, and a lot of kids there in Grace, their parents were part of potato farms. It was kind of strange during football. I'll come back to the basketball deal because I'll kind of come back to trying to get things in order.
Sure.
But I think that's when I get off. If something hit me that I really wanted to say. So we moved down there, me and my wife, to Grace when school started. And I still, to this day, I want to say my base salary was $12,500 to be the a full-time teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there would have been maybe another 1,000 or 2,000 or something at the time to be coaching 3 sports. So I want to say at the most I was maybe making $15,000 coming right out of college as a full-time teacher. Wow. Okay. My wife was pregnant, and we didn't have much. We found a little apartment there. The first place we found was a basement, and we remember going to the basement, but it just smelled like mold, like it had been, not lived in for a while or whatever, and it was just didn't feel real good. And then we found another little duplex like deal, and so we found a place to live there and was able to move in. And but I remember being there for like 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden we took like a week or 2 off, and I was like going, what? This is so weird. And it ended up being that's what they do up there in Idaho during they harvest the potatoes.
Oh, yeah, during the harvest.
And they take a week or 2 weeks off. Well, I'm living up there now full time, and I'm going, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I ended up driving one of the semi trucks, the big dump truck, like go load potatoes and go, dump them.
Yeah.
So that was an experience. I mean, right off, because I had never, really
get you
done
involved
anything
in
like
the
that.
community right
It
off the
did.
bat.
So I learned.
So.
I learned what it was like, for the community to harvest potatoes. So did that for about 2 weeks, and as a side job. Well, I mean, I had, what else was I going to do at that time?
Right,
so, and then, like I said, from that point we I'm just trying to think of how that all went. And then football, we come back and football started up again, and then we started playing our games, and things went well there in the beginning, and then basketball started, and that was a great experience for me, coaching these kids. And not having help from anybody else. It was just me and this group of kids that nobody really believed in at all. But to me, there was enough good talent, and Roy Matthews was one of them, that I mean, at the time, I just know I was able to inspire them to be even better than what they thought they could be. And it was like I said, it was a great experience. But I remember there was one day that I want to say it was during the time. So my daughter, Cassie, which is my oldest, that was born in Preston, it was in December, and we had to drive her to Preston, which was about, I want to say Preston was probably 45 minutes away from where we lived. And, my wife calls me and says, hey, I think it's time, whatever. And so I go, and anyway, we ended up going to Preston, Idaho to have the baby. And anyway, and we ended up having Cassie, and
sweet. That
was awesome. But during that time, I had to take a day or 2 off, because of what was going on with having my wife in the hospital and the new baby and whatever. And I come back, and the coaches told me that the kids, while I was gone, the kids had showed up for like 2 of the practices, because I just figured they were, were canceled. But the kids showed up on their own and ran practices.
Sweet.
On their own with no coach. And talking to the kids later, they go, Coach, we did it even better than what you expected of us. We just knew how you would do it. We knew, you couldn't be there, but we want you to know our practices were awesome. And we did our sprints, we did our conditioning, we did our jump shots, our foul shooting. And I remember being so proud of these kids that, and at the time, I don't even know if we'd played any games yet or whether we had maybe played a couple. I don't remember that exact situation, but I remember the kids and then the head basketball coach of the varsity saying, well, you've really got through to those ninth graders. While you were gone, they went and practiced on their own. They were there at like 7 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning, just like if you was there, and ran that practice. It sounds like just like if you was there when it come to everything, how you would have been doing it. And I just remember that was like a proud moment. You know what I mean? That the connection I had with them, and it was real. I mean, it was with some of these kids. I mean, it ended up, I mean, to this day, me and this Roy Matthews, he ended up, I'll share the hardest thing I ever probably did in my life. It was really a hard thing to do, and it dealt with grace. But, so we have the baby, okay, and we come home, and so that basketball season, needless to say, ended up being just a great experience. Okay, so now, after the basketball experience, I'm now the head track coach, and I had already coached football, so I knew small school. I knew all the athletes in the school, and I'm like going, okay, I'm the track coach, and you football guys and basketball that, I kind of got to know them. I go, okay, I need you all out. And a lot of them hadn't gone out for track before. It was, they had their farming stuff that they needed to do or whatever. And, and so, but I was able to convince a lot of the kids to come out, and we ended up having a great track season. I mean, like we did really well. I mean, Sweet. But part of that was because I got all the athletes that were in the school, I was able to talk them into just coming out. Not that I was a great track coach or anything.
Right.
I think that I learned enough I talked to a couple people that knew about track, and then I honestly remember going and buying like 2 books on track, and I was just totally, they were my Bibles. They were like, I was going by track workouts, totally by whatever this book said, not that I knew much about it, but it ended up being successful, and it was good. But at the time while track was going, I remember Grace had never had a weight room or anything, or the kids had never really lifted much weight at all. And I remember going to the principal, like it was probably while the basketball season was going, and just telling him that I thought it was really important that we establish a weightlifting program there. Weights was starting to become a big thing back at that time. And I just think it would really help our kids. And I talked them into buying like a couple sets of like a bench and and they had a little universal gym, and it was basically in a closet. I mean, honestly, it was, the room was not very big. I just remember that. And then but I talked them into getting some free weight. We got I want to say we got some dumbbells, maybe a couple curl bars, I know we got a bench press, a brand new bench press for sure, and free weights. So there was first time that they ever had free weights there. And now we fixed up this room, made it a little bit better, turned it into our own little weight room. Well, the kids couldn't stay after school or after our track or whatever, because they had to get home and do their chores and do whatever their parents needed them to do. So I was meeting kids over there like at 8 o'clock at night. There was a group and it was probably, started out maybe 8 or 10 kids that were out for track. I was going, hey, I'll come back and help you go through a weight workout if you guys want to come back at 8.
Yeah.
And then it kept getting just a little bit bigger, few more kids heard about it, And bottom line is I was starting to become really, really close with these kids. I mean, obviously spending the time that I was with them so we started the weight program, and the kids are coming, and then it's the end of the year. I'm just going to go to that. I was going to maybe say a little bit more. So, well, it'll go along with the story. Okay. My wife didn't have a lot of friends there. I mean, she comes up there, she's pregnant. She sits at home by herself just about every day. She'd go out, maybe walk or whatever. We had one couple that we were kind of friends with that we had met, that we hung out a little bit with, but they lived maybe 20 miles away. They were in another little small town or whatever. So she really didn't. I'm going every day, with the kids, and I'm coaching, and we're building a weight program, and I'm loving it. But for my wife, it was a little bit. She had a new baby. She's in the apartment by herself every day. It was a little bit of a struggle for her, being up there in Grace, Idaho. Yeah. Okay, so we're in the springtime. Track now ends, and it's the last week of school. Okay, and we're going to have an awards banquet at the end of the school in the gym. But I just remember that awards banquet was going to be on I want to say it was on a Thursday. Okay. About a month before that, my grandparents had got a hold of me. My grandpa, his name was Will Stewart. He grew up in Melbourne, out there. Okay. Well, my grandpa and grandma got a hold of us and said, "Hey, we know that you're coaching and teaching now. The head football job just opened up at North Sanpete down here by where we live in Melbourne." And I when they first told me, I was kind of like, well, that's great. They're going, well, would you have any interest in it? And at the time, I really didn't. So here's what had happened from the time I started coaching at Grace. Okay. Sometime like right after that basketball season, when that freshman group of kids did as well as they did, the principal called me into his office, and we had a talk, about building a weight, or, starting a weight program or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well, he calls me in the office and he goes, "You know what, Dave? We're just so super excited to have you here and what you're doing with our kids, and just having you part of our community, and we would like to offer you the head football job." So this is my first year. I'm 21 years old at the time, because I was graduated pretty early, and so I was 21 at the time. And they go, "We not only want to offer you the head football job, we would like you to make you our athletic director, okay, which we could pay you an extra like $2,000 a year to be the athletic director, and there's really not that much that you'd need to do. We'd like to make you our head football coach, and then just continue to be the head track and help in basketball. What do you think?" And at the time, I was like going, "You know what? This is what I've signed up for. This is what I want to do." I was already working with the kids and felt like we could have a good football program coming back with the kids. Yeah. And so I accepted the head football job. I accepted the athletic director job, which was going to pay me more. And that was kind of the direction I was heading. I'd now started a weight program with the kids. Yeah. Okay. And then about a month before school got out, is when my grandparents called, said the head job was open down here. When I say down here, because we're in Sanpete right now, but I just remember telling my grandparents, "You know what? I just don't know. The timing's terrible. Okay, I've only been here for 1 year where I'm at, and they've just offered me, like, they're doing everything they can to make, to make me, they would love to have me stay. And I've really become close with the kids, and I'm going to make more money next year," which, I mean, the more money was, it was still, the money was terrible. Pennies, yeah. Exactly. But it was more, you know what? Yeah. And they were doing what they could. Right. Okay. And I says, I appreciate you calling, and if the timing would have been different, I probably would have come and put in on it. Yeah. But thanks. Well, a couple of weeks go by, And my wife, out of the blue, just goes, do you know if they filled that football position down at North Sanpete? And I go, I have no idea. I go, I'm sure. That was like a couple weeks ago when I heard it was open. I go, I'm sure they filled it. She goes, well, she goes, I know you're loving it down here. And she goes, but honestly, it is really hard for me, raising our Cassie and just being here and not knowing a lot of people. And I just sit here in this apartment while you're out, every night you're with the kids and you're doing things. And I go, I get it. You know what? I understand what you're saying. And I was going, well, I could call and just check, because she goes, I really would love to be back in Utah where our families are. And isn't that where we really want to end up anyway, back in Utah? And I go, yeah. I mean, which was 100% the case. This was going to be a short-term deal going to Idaho, but we 100% wanted to be back where our families were, and, sisters and brothers and siblings, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we knew that was the case. She goes, well, wouldn't that, I mean, your grandparents are there. Wouldn't that put us at least closer and you get our foot back in the door in the Utah school systems, when it comes to state retirements and stuff like that? And I go, yeah, it would. I go, I will call. So the next day I called and I talked to the principal, and the principal said, at North Sanpete, said, I just said, hey, I'm calling about your football job. I go, I know it's been open for a little while. I go, is it still open, or have you already hired a coach? And the principal goes, well, this was on a Thursday. This was like on a Thursday. It was on a Friday. It was on a Friday because, and I had to just think back, but it was on a Friday because he goes, I just remember him saying, well, we were planning on hiring a coach by Monday of this next week, by the 1st of next week. We've already done all of our interviews. Okay. We feel like we're right to the point where the committee's ready to make a decision on it. And he goes, so you are late, putting in on it.
Right.
And I go, well, and I'm inside, I'm going, well, okay, all right, that's good, because I was like not really wanting to.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing it more for because my wife asked me to. And he goes, well, let me just ask you a couple questions. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And I told him, I said, I played football at Southern Utah, and my grandparents lived in Melbourne and whatever. And he goes, how about I call somebody down at Southern Utah? He goes, I know Jack Bishop, the head football coach down there. And he goes, and I know the athletic director. Okay. He goes, how about, let me make a couple calls, and can I get back to you? Can you be at your phone? I mean, back then we didn't have cell phones,
Right. Yeah.
Could I call you back like in an hour? Can you be at, this number or whatever? And I said, sure, and so about 45 minutes goes by, and, I'm at home where he could get a hold of me, and he calls back and he goes, well, I talked to both of those coaches down there, and boy, they had nothing but great things to say about you. And I go, well, that's good. I'm glad it wasn't all bad, or whatever. And I go, no, I assumed that it would be good. I had a great career at Southern Utah, and I felt like I always was a good role model and did things the right way. So I thought that they would put in a good word for me or whatever.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I've postponed making the decision. Can you be here on Monday for an interview? And I said, well, we're in our last week of school. So, even down here, it was close to their last week of school at North Sanpete. And I go, so Monday? And he goes, yeah, could you be here by 10 o'clock in the morning? Could you come for an interview? And I'm going, yeah, I could. I could be there. And I thought that'll be a good experience anyway, just to go for another interview. And, at some point I'm going to want to move on. And So it'd be good to go have the interview. So I've already had the one interview at Grace, was my only one that I ever had ever for a teaching coaching, and they offered it to me like even before we left, just from the visit.
Yeah.
So I go meet with the principal down here, and I had to go to my principal in Grace and say, hey, I need a day off. I didn't even tell him why. I just said I need a day off on Monday. I know it's the end of the school year and that, but I have something I need to go take care of in Utah. Of course, I didn't want to because I really didn't think it was going to work out or anything. And I went and told, I went and asked the principal for Monday off, and he got a sub and said, okay, no problem. We'll see you on Tuesday next week. This was on a Friday. All happened pretty quick. And me and my wife, we drove up. I went to the interview on that Monday, and the principal said, "Okay, can you be at your phone? I mean, that number that I called you the other day. Can you be at that later on this afternoon? And I'll just let you know what we had. I'll just let you know." He goes, "I don't feel like it would even be fair to you or us to just make a decision right here, because there's a few other people that need to be in on decisions or whatever." And I'm like going, "No, okay, I'll be at my phone. I'll be home by 4:00. Anytime between 4 and 5, I'll be there." And he goes, "All right." So we get home, and it was before the time that we even had decided. The principal from North Sanpete called and says, "Would like you to be our head football coach." And I'm like going, "No, don't even say that. That is not what I wanted to hear."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was so torn. My wife, of course, was excited. And I just says, I have to call you back. I can't give you an answer right this second. Yeah. I go, "How about can I call you back in an hour or so," and whatever. And my wife had a heart to heart and whatever. And it was, and when it come right down to it, it was like, yeah, we really do want to be back to Utah. And, and she goes, "All you're going to do is just get closer and closer to these kids. We know that it's why you want to stay. It's because you love these kids already.
Yeah.
Well, do you think you're going to love them even less in a year or 2 years or whatever? And are we really going to just end up here and not be up with our families?" And,
Right.
And so we had that kind of a talk. And I go, "You know what? You're right. You're right." And I go, so I called up the principal, and I call him and just says, "You know what? Me and my wife just got done talking, and I accept your offer. I would like to be your head football coach next year." And then they asked, on top of that, I was going to be here at North Sanpete. They asked me to be the head football, assistant basketball, and head baseball.
Oh.
So at least now, wasn't track.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Track,
Not that I had a good experience in track.
Right, but you have a lot more experience in baseball.
Oh, baseball was my thing, if you remember.
Yep. Yeah.
That was baseball was my thing.
Yeah.
And so I said, "You know what? That all sounded good. You know what? That I'll accept." And I had to be there by a certain day to sign papers and do whatever. But I told them, "You know what? We had school the rest of the week. I couldn't be up for a week and a half or so." And they go, "No problem. Okay, we're going to let all the other people that applied for the job know that we've filled the job then." I go, "All right." Oh my gosh. And it was stressful for me, because then I had to go back to school. This was on Tuesday, and I told the principal, the first one I did was went and said, "Okay, I had needed Monday off. I headed up home because I put in, I had an interview at a school where my grandparents live, a small school in Utah." And I go, "You're not going to like what I have to say," because they offered me the job that day after my interview on Monday. Yeah. And I've accepted. He was like, "No, don't say that, And I go, he goes, "But you know what? I've been in education long enough." He was really a good guy. He goes, "And I didn't see you staying around here long." He goes, he just was so positive. He goes, "Because you're something special." I just remember him being just over the top, like, "You know what? We knew." When we were throwing things out there, trying to get you extra money and trying to whatever. We was doing all we could to keep you here as long as we could. And I said, well, I really appreciate that. And I go, and this is really hard for me to make this decision. It really is. And he understood, and he goes, and I says, can we not announce anything though? I go, we have our awards banquet on Thursday. That's just in 2 days. I go, I don't want the kids to hear it just from anybody else. I go, I would really like to announce that and thank everybody at the same time, so that I don't miss anybody. And when we're giving out the track awards during the banquet, the year-end banquet, I go, I would like to thank everybody because this has been one of the most amazing years of my life. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I won't say anything, and we'll go from there. And I said, thanks. And so Thursday we have our, it's like the last day of school, and we're having the last awards banquet. It's in the gym. I get up and have to give my track awards out, to the kids that whatever, so-and-so did this or that or whatever. And then the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was to announce to the kids, that was in that gym, those kids that I'd been working with and started a weight program, and those freshmen that just battled their butt, those freshmen that practiced when I wasn't even there because I was with my wife and, during that time and whatever. I got up and just said, okay, I have an announcement that I need to make, and this was towards the end of it. And I just says, I just want to thank everybody. This has been one of the greatest experiences of my life this year coaching here and getting to know the kids and the coaches and the whatever. And I go, but I need to announce that I've accepted a job in Utah where we're from, and I won't be coming back next year. And all of a sudden I look up there, and here's these big farm boys, you know what? And no, I'll start crying again because, oh my gosh, I'm right there at the mic, and I just start. They're like, no, and I look up and I see these kids just start crying.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, did it hit me hard? I knew that it would be not easy, but I didn't know it was going to be that hard. And I just said, okay, for all you guys that I've been working with and coach this year, I'd like to have you come to the coach's office after so we can just talk. And anyway, and oh my heck. And then I sat down and I look up there, and these kids a bunch of them were, especially, I remember this Roy Matthews was like, he was my guy, and he was a big farm boy. And, and I remember those kids coming in and oh man, it was like we bawled, and all I could do is explain why and what and thank him or whatever, and we can always remain close and
there's some of those things that kids just don't understand like that. When you get in those positions in life when you're an adult and you're like, you don't know what it's like to move away from your family yet and to experience life away and then have your wife that's going through the same situation and stuff, it's hard. It's hard to explain it to your kids, let alone, anybody else. So. Yeah.
And so it was one of those situations where it was like I said, to this day, it was the hardest decision. I know I made the right decision, but it was so hard. I just become so close with those kids in the community in such a short time.
Yeah.
I was out working with the farmers. I got to know some of the parents through the potato harvest. And you know what I mean? It was just a different deal. And, okay. So school ends. This is on that Thursday. School ends. By the time I get home, my wife is like going, well, you must have made the announcement because the phone keeps ringing. And we had a number of phone calls from parents.
Oh yeah.
And I called them back, and they go, and they were just like, what do we got to do? Tell us this isn't true. We need you here. whatever. And I go, man, I appreciate it, whatever, you know. And they go, and then I remember one parent calling and saying, when are you leaving? I go, we're leaving Saturday morning. This was on a Thursday afternoon when I was after school that I was talking to these, you know, when it all happened.
Yeah.
Friday, we were going to just pack, get everything ready to go. We didn't have any. We just barely didn't have anything. And, I mean, we could do it in one load, you know. So I just said, we'll be leaving Saturday morning. They go, well, would you at least be willing to come to a barbecue tomorrow night? Would you, just so some of us families can say thank you? And one of them was the Matthews family, the mink farmers, that their boy was Roy, and they had an older son that was a senior that was going to be graduating, but I coached him that year as a senior. So coached two of their boys. And then one of them was the guy that owned the local Thatcher. They lived in Thatcher. There was this little market, just a market in Thatcher that this family owned. And then there was one other that I can't even remember, but there was three families that were kind of going, okay, we want to, if you could come to our, you know, to our house Friday, let's say, you know, around 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Would that work? And we just want to have a little barbecue and say thank you. And, you know, and I go, that we would love to do that. That would be great.
And then you find out it's a trap and they're trying to keep you there.
Oh, wait. And now you're going to get the rest of the story.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we walk in and when we've got our new little baby or whatever, but we walk in and we got Cassie's in a little, you know, carrier or whatever. And set Cassie down, and they're all right there to welcome us. And the very first thing they did is they put a full-length mink coat on on Christy, and said, "You know, we're a mink farm. You know, one family. You know, we're mink farmers down here. And boy, Christy, you look awesome in that full-length mink coat." Which I have no idea what I just know that a full-length mink coat was not cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea what something like that would cost. But they go, and we're puzzled. I mean, really, we're naive. I mean, I have no idea what's going on. And right after they put the coat on her, one of the other dads comes up like he's going to shake my hand, and he hands me a wad of money, okay, that's got rubber bands around the money. And it's I mean, I have no idea, okay, you know, what it is. And he hands it to me, and I go, what's this? Coach, there's some people in this community. We've decided we're going to do everything we can to keep you here.
It really was.
And you know what?
Yeah.
We would love to have your wife have that mink coat, and you know, this can be just the start of whatever it's going to take to get you to stay here. And then he goes, we've seen too many coaches come and go that were not good for kids. And when we get someone like you, we're going to do everything in our power as a community to keep you here. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I mean, I'm like 21 years old and this is my first coaching experience.
Yeah.
There's how my coaching career started. And I mean, it was, I mean, this true story. I mean, I know that sounds like maybe make believe or whatever. I promise you that is exactly what happened. And I didn't take the rubber band off. I didn't do anything. I just handed it right back to him. And I says, you know what, for all the reasons that you guys want me to stay, it's why I could never do this. It's why, I mean, the minute things started to go bad or whatever, I go, you don't know how much this means to me though, as a person, that you guys would even try to get me to stay, and especially to this extent. And then they took the mink off, and you know what? But there's my Grace, Idaho story.
That's intense.
And then Roy Matthews ended up becoming he was a freshman at the time, ended up becoming just a stud in all three sports. we ended up getting him a scholarship to Southern Utah because I had connections and I helped. And he ended up playing 4 years at Southern Utah. And I want to say he's either the superintendent or the assistant superintendent in the Iron County school system.
Oh, cool.
Down there over Cedar and Parowan.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's where Roy Matthews went from the time I coached him as a freshman when he was a 9th grader.
Wow, that's cool.
And one of my other most favorite stories ever, Roy Matthews was a freshman down playing at Southern Utah now, and just was like, Coach, can you ever just come watch one game, come down and I went down to see Roy I went down to one game or whatever, but I remember going into his dorm room. I went up, knocked on the door or whatever, and I go in his dorm room. I will start crying again. And Roy Matthews was probably, I don't know, 6 foot, 6'1", maybe 270 pounds, 280 pounds.
Yeah, big
just
guy.
Just a brute of a guy. Okay. And I go into his dorm room when I go down to watch him as a freshman, and there's my picture on the what would you cut just on his nightstand. Nightstand. That's what I was trying to think. Saying, here's a picture of me on his nightstand there. I'm going, what big studly college football players? This was like 4 years later.
Yeah, that's crazy. But when you have an impact, like you're saying,
oh my God,
like when we were talking about your teacher in elementary school, like that kind of an impact on a student just makes all the difference in the world.
Well, look what Roy's went on and done, and he had a great career. He coached in over at Parowan for a number of years, and just and then went into the administration, was a principal, and just has made a huge difference in a lot of kids' lives.
Yeah, and he may have never understood the concept of how to befriend and treat students if it wasn't for the time he spent with you. He
shares a story of one day when he was a freshman, and we come to early morning practice in the gym, and one morning the lunch ladies left a door open or something. I don't even remember the situation, but there was a freezer and a cooler that they kept all the milk in. And before I got there, or maybe when one of the days I was gone or something, some of the milks come up missing out of that cooler. Come to find out, it was some of my freshmen that morning got there and ended up, drinking some of the milk that they shouldn't have or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And boy, did they ever come clean. They come clean about it. And we did extra conditioning and it was a learning point, because at that point I just remember, telling them, that's just not how we do stuff, and how disappointed how disappointed I was in them. That they're on one hand, they're doing all these great things and making a big difference and yet they turned around and made a mistake. And I go, that's all I'm going to call it, because I know you guys are such great kids. I go, right. It just happened to be there. It was unlocked, and but it wasn't right. And I go, what you need to understand is it wasn't right. And years later, he shared that story. I mean, we were with somewhere, whatever, and around some people, and he goes, and Coach, I'll never forget, man. He goes, I don't know if I ever felt worse in my entire life than the day we told you we took the milk out of that cooler, and I was one of them, because we idolized you.
Yeah.
And he goes, it was just like we let you down,
Yeah.
I go, well, no, it was just a learning experience. And I go, I'll be honest with you, Roy, I don't even really, to me, it was just another thing. And this was years later, that he shared that story. And he goes, I'll never forget, because it changed. He goes, that changed me forever, that one situation and how you handled it, and how we all just felt so like we had disappointed you. So, that anyway.
Yeah.
One of those. So that experience, and see, this probably took an hour to get through, but that experience going and being my first coaching experience, that's one of the, it's a story that'll, I just think will, I mean, how do you, you can see how.
Yeah, you can't skip that kind of stuff.
And you know what? And I can't just do it quick. I mean, it's one
Right.
where if you don't have the buildup of the story and what happened with the kids and the weight room and the nights and the time and the, you know, and whatever, I just don't think that it doesn't have the same meaning as
Yeah,
that
I agree.
that was so hard. And I had never heard of anything like what happened to me. This is how my first coaching
Yeah.
job. And
And you're getting bribes from the city folk.
oh my gosh, you know what?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, I always look back and go, I wonder how much money was in that. I don't know if it was ones or hundreds or, you know, I didn't make much money. I mean, no. The truth of the matter is, it wouldn't have mattered how much. It could have been,
exactly.
it could have matched my salary, and it would have been, I'm not leaving because of more money or anything like that. You know, that wasn't the point.
Yep.
Yeah. And then come down, and I spent 1 year as a coach at North Sanpete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm now 22 years old, and the new head coach down here, following Paul Tidwell, which Paul did a good job, but they had never won a region football championship in the history of North Sanpete back in 84, 85. It just had never done it. Paul Tidwell was a great coach. He ended up coaching at Snow and then at BYU. And I followed in his footsteps, and I come and I'm now the head coach, and all my assistants are older guys. There was a new basketball coach that came in by the name of Mike May. Mike May played basketball at BYU, and I think he still might be the superintendent in Alpine School District to this day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So Mike was a really, a great hire. Mike was a great man. So he ended up being one of my assistant football coaches. There was we had a number of guys that were around here. Bull Kiesel, that's coaching with me right now, coached on that staff when I was 22 years old.
Yeah.
George Lee, Lee just passed away this last year.
Yeah.
And coached probably more kids in Little League football and stuff like that
Yep.
than maybe anybody around here. Was one of my assistant coaches. These are all older guys even then. Dell Barker, I don't know if anybody knows Dell. He runs the driver's ed deal.
Yep.
And
I took driver's ed from him.
okay, Dale Barker was one of my assistant coaches. Okay, I'm 22 years old at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Dale had come from coaching up at like Cottonwood or at, I don't know, up in the bigger schools or whatever. So pretty much all my guys have been guys that have been around or whatever. And I come back and I put together an offensive playbook. I was mainly a defensive guy, but I had to put together an offensive defense. And, I think back to, I had no clue. I was no clue how to really coach a team. I mean, but you know what I always had? The kids always knew that I loved them, and I had a way of motivating. I mean, we had a really talented North Sanpete team that year, and we ended up tying for the region championship. But you go look in the gym, it's the first 84, 85. That's the first football region, football championship was my 1 year there when I was 22 years old. And again, it was more that we must have had great talent for us to pull off what we did. We ended up getting knocked out like in the quarterfinals or something. And if they'd have had a better coach, they probably would have won a state championship that year. But you know what I still had was that same, I could motivate, you know what? And I'm not going to say I could motivate. I was easily fell in love with these kids. I mean, it was like the kids in Grace. I hadn't been, it wasn't a whole lot different, to be honest with you. Maybe it was because that was my first one. But so we win the first region championship. here. And of course, I've got now some of the bigger schools and coaches coming after me that knew me from up north. And Bingham High School was one of the best all-around sports programs in the state.
They always kind of had them.
They were, and especially not as much in football, but basketball, baseball. I mean, there was a guy named Bruce Hardy that played quarterback at Bingham and then went in and played in the NFL. And I mean, there was so Bingham had his brother Axel Hardy played in the major league, or played baseball in the pros from Bingham. And anyway, the guy that just took the head football job at Bingham High School was a coach that I knew, a family, his name was Son Sudbury. Okay, and Son had just took the head job at Bingham, had been at Bingham as a head baseball coach and won some state championships as a baseball coach. Okay, his younger brother John coached me all through Little League football.
Okay.
Little League football. John Sudbury was the first guy that ever mentioned that, hey, what college are you thinking you might want to go to? Okay, so I had this family connection. Well, Son Sudbury just took the head job at Bingham, and I think one of his first calls was, I'm calling Dave to see if he'll come be my D coordinator.
Yeah.
On the varsity at Bingham.
Yeah, which is probably considerably more money, considerably more resources for the team. Just an overall better experience.
My wives, our brothers and sisters, and all of our moms and dads. She was from Sandy. I was from West Valley.
Yep.
All of a sudden, it's like, okay, for all the reasons that we wanted to move back to Utah, and now things are kind of falling in place to be right up there with our family and raise our kids and be there, right there with them, and not, it was kind of the same thing. And at first I said, no. Matter of fact, I guarantee I told Son Sudbury at least 10 times no. And he just he wouldn't give up. And then it come back to, I'm pretty sure it was my wife again that just says, well,
what are we
we're
really
in the
doing?
same boat.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this where we want to be for the next whatever many years? Because you're just going to, we know what your personality's like now. It's going to be, are we okay being here forever? And it was like, well, what's my goals? My goals was to go show that I could be one of the top coaches in the state of Utah at the highest level. Yeah. I said that even back then, that at some point I want to show that I can coach with anybody. I just had that. I had that passion that I felt like I had what it took to be able to go coach, and that was what my goal was. And then it come back, and at some point, you know what? I called Son Sudbury and just said. And he had said, I'm only going to go like 3 or 4 years, and you can take over the head job at Bingham. And I mean, that's not how it all worked out, but it all. So I ended up accepting that D coordinator job. Had to go tell the kids at North Sanpete after 1 year and winning the region title.
Yeah.
You know what? That I was going to be leaving again, and it was similar to the Grace thing. I think the Grace thing, just because it was my first coaching job. I had never gone through anything like that before. I mean, that one, it was so emotional for me.
Yeah.
I made it through the other one. Through the next one, a little bit better. It was still way hard to go on tell the kids that I was going to be leaving. And, all I can say is, part of the reason I'm coaching at North Sanpete right now, and I bring more experience than a person should have,
Yeah.
So part of me taking the head job was giving back to a community that I felt like I let down years ago when I was younger.
That's awesome. Just that you think that long you've been willing to come back and say, look, you deserve better from me. That's impressive.
That's all part of it. It really is. I helped my nephew. I went back, and so for 2 years, Rhett Bird was my nephew, and he coached at North Sanpete, or took the head job. And I think part of that was that I was already retired and down here in Sanpete when he was 22 years old and took the head job. And because I definitely had a couple people call, are you going to be helping him? And by then I'd already had, an established career and won a lot of awards, put in the Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, that kind of stuff. That had all taken place, a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
So you get to Brighton as the defensive coordinator, or Bingham.
Yeah, Bingham.
Yep. As the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, if we're going to go through my career, I promise all the stories aren't going to be that long unless you've got.
Hey, that's all right.
Unless we want to meet like for the next 12 months, a couple times a week. So now we'll go through because there's some other stories that are just like, I don't know. The one about the mink coat though, I think is.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I've had a couple people like, hey, would you be willing to do a book, type of thing. And I've got some other stories coming up that I think are, and I've always just said, no, or whatever. But, when I read books and that, I'm going, they have nothing on some of the stuff that I've
that's
been
definitely
through.
One that I've never heard anybody bribing people with a mink coat to come back and coach.
Mink coat and a lot of money.
Different.
I mean, money, we all have heard about that. Yeah. Being bribed for that. But all right, so where we at then? We're back to what you just said. So
yep.
So I coached North Sanpete, had a great year.
Yep.
I don't know that, and then ended up going from there. Then I was an assistant at Bingham High School for 4 years. I went as the D coordinator. And he also had me be over the weight room. So I was teaching some weights and running our athletic weights with the kids and really was into weights, even at North Sanpete. I brought up Mike May. Mike May was one of my assistant football coaches. Then he ended up being the, coaching up in, I think at Lone Peak. And then anyway, he had a great career.
Yeah.
But me and him started lifting together, and I got a work out of a muscle, what was it called? A Muscle Fitness magazine.
Oh yeah,
because back then I would be looking just for different workouts or whatever. I mean, I was still
there wasn't
fresh
the internet
out of
enough
college.
that you could just go find whatever you wanted.
No, there wasn't a lot, and so it was a
workout.
muscle and fitness magazine that I was reading. And there was this workout. It was called the Soviet weightlifting program. And I if we're going to do things in order here, because this ended up being a big thing, it was called the Soviet 6-week weightlifting program. At the time, the Soviet Union was dominating the Olympics and things in weightlifting and stuff. And I was like, this article's interesting. So it was their 6-week program, and it talked about how they did it, the number of sets and reps and whatever. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try this for 6 weeks. And I asked Mike, we would go over in the mornings, like at 6 a.m. and work out before school started. But we did it like 3 days a week. We never missed, six weeks in a row. And at the end of that 6 weeks, both of us were stronger we did it on bench and squat. Okay. Both of us were stronger than we had ever been before in our life. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, this program is awesome. I mean, I remember, back in the day I could dunk, but my hands weren't very big. I couldn't really, anything I could palm, I could dunk, no problem.
Yeah.
But I couldn't palm a basketball or whatever. If I could, like a volleyball, I could go up and no problem. But I just remember at the end of this workout, we did it on squat and we did it on bench, just the two things. And I was dunking better than I ever had before. I mean, this is a couple years now out of college, and this workout was amazing. And then we did another 6-week program and went up again, and it was both of us. And if Mike May ever is listening to this, he'll remember us doing this workout, and both of us were like going, "Wow." Well, in the meantime, I shaped it and formed it, okay, and my entire career, all of my football players have been using the Soviet 6-week weightlifting program. Okay, that is, I like I said, I have tweaked it for high school kids, but to this day, my own sons that are, one's a PA and one's a PT, they do it a couple times a year. They'll do a 6-week program from this.
Yeah.
And I always just called it once I went to Bingham, the Bingham 6-week powerlifting program, the whatever.
Yeah.
And it was always, I always tweaked it a little bit, throughout the years. So
yeah, is it similar to like a GVT, like a German volume training style lift? Or
I don't even know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Not even sure what GVT is.
So GVT, German volume training, it's like right around 6 weeks typically, and it's a 3-day set where you rotate every 3 days. So you're not like set during the week. You might hit Monday and then you might hit Tuesday the next week, whatever. And then, but you do 10 sets of 10 on one exercise.
Yeah, this is totally different.
Different.
Yeah, totally different than that. The highest you ever go, rep wise, is 6, and you never the hardest workout, probably the whole thing, is a 6 sets of 6 reps at 80% of your max.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then you go, and so it's all set up on you have a really easy workout on, like, let's just say it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Monday you have like a 6 sets of 2 at 80%. For people whoever listens to this that are into weightlifting, they'll kind of have an idea what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But it's just a 6 sets of 2, and we call that an easy day.
Yeah.
Then the next day you do like a 6 sets of 3. Not the next day, Wednesday.
Yeah, the next.
So then you come back
day
on a Wednesday and you do a 6 sets of 3 reps at 80% of your max.
Gotcha.
Then you come back on Friday and you go back to a 6 of 2. So we actually call it, there's an easy day, which is always 6 sets of 2 at 80% of your max, which is not a hard workout for anybody.
Yeah.
But it's not about the number of reps. This is pure just trying to get the best max that you ever wanted to try to get. Mm-hmm. This program has been awesome. And number of my kids, I mean, everywhere I've gone, my powerlifting teams have been won every meet. I mean, we win most of the meets that we go to.
Yeah.
And I think that, I feel like I've been a good motivator in the weight room, but I think the program is that I've now have, done. I still have kids that I've coached years ago that'll call, Coach, can you send me our 6-week program?
Yeah.
I've got my boys. I want to start getting them used to doing it. Or this was even as of a couple months ago, somebody got a hold of me and, Coach, will you send me the 6-week program, that I coached years ago? So it becomes something, and I've tweaked it enough over the years that I feel like it's, for getting just young kids strong, but not killing them.
Right. That's the hard thing with GVT.
Really
like GVT is good. It's for like when you've plateaued.
Yeah.
And you're struggling to get past that plateau.
And we all get it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where typically you'll get a GVT in that time frame. And so you'll do it, and then that'll help you get just
How
past
long does that last?
Plateau. I'm trying to remember, but I want to say
like
it's like 6 to 12 weeks.
6 to 12 week period. Yeah.
So not super long, and it's like there's a few things about it. Like you can't just pick it up and do it. You've got to make sure you're doing your diet right and stuff, because it takes a lot more energy to do that 10 sets of 10, every other day or whatever, however often you're going to do it. So, but that's an interesting one. I think I've seen something very similar to that when I was in the military, because we changed our PT test to where it has like deadlift in it and a ball throw and a couple other things that are more like real workout,
Right.
And I think that's kind of something very similar to that is what I saw going around when they brought that in. So it makes me wonder if somebody had converted yours to an Excel spreadsheet and sent it out to the guard.
I don't know, but anybody that ever asked, and I wish so bad that I would have kept that magazine. It was just a muscle and fitness magazine. And I don't know what happened to it, but I guarantee that I took printed off the program and and then started to use it. And then, so then I went from North Sanpete where I don't even remember if it was to the point where we had our kids do it that year. It was more maybe me and the coach
trying it out.
Oh, we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So then I go to Bingham and they asked me to be the weights coach, and I'm going, hey, I got a weight program. I feel pretty darn good about whatever. And I ended up having to tweak it and because I'm real big on bench, squat, and power clean. I think power clean, if I had to pick one lift for a football player, it's explosive. You got to, and it would be power clean. So we're real big on bench squat, power clean. I'm not as big on deadlift for these younger kids. I just think, I mean, yeah, they can lift a lot of weight, but I just think that it's kind of hard on some young backs when they're trying to pull 400 or 500 pounds or something, and some of them they start to feel like they can get it, and man, it is a grind, and I just worry. I'm not.
No, I agree. I think a heavy deadlift isn't for the young.
Well, and yet you start to see it in high school. Some people, matter of fact, there's some football programs that I know they're really big on it. I'm not. We're really big on bench squat, power clean. Yeah, and I think power clean is by far the best football lift for getting it's an athletic lift.
Yep.
You got to have some coordination, strength.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, in just thinking about it now, I think, I agree with you as far as like explosive athletics go. The deadlift is obviously the best for hitting all muscle groups at once. You know, like you work more muscle in that one lift than you do any other single lift. Yeah. But it's that slow strength. And that's not exactly what you like. Maybe the front
in football,
lineman,
exactly. That's it. No, you want explosive strength. You want to be able to,
So power clean would fit that way more. So I agree. And then squat, obviously, you're just going to build your leg strength, and bench, you're going to keep your upper body going. So
So all my years, I've been really big on the 3 core lifts, and we do it pretty much Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mm-hmm. But we match up whenever we're doing a hard bench day. So you know how I say one day is like 6 sets of 2 reps, which is an easy day. Yeah. Then the next one is 6 sets of 3 reps, which even though it's only 3 reps, it's not that hard, but we call it a hard day because it's not 6 to 2.
Yeah.
We added one extra rep, harder at that point. Then we go 6 to 2 the next Friday. Then we come back on Monday. We're now 6 sets of 3 reps at 80%. Mm-hmm. Then we come back on Wednesday. We're now 6 to 2, an easy one again. At 80. Okay. Now on that next Friday, we're at 6 sets of 4 reps.
Gotcha.
And it goes right to 6 sets of 6 reps at 80. Then after your 6 sets of 6, the next week, then you do an easy. Every other workout is followed with just an easy where you're working perfect form. We just call it perfect form day. Easy day is a perfect form day where you just work on getting down low on a squat, doing a perfect clean where you're dropping your butt. And anyway, bench. We come down, maybe even do some pauses if it's going that good for you on bench. Just perfect form. Okay. Well, then after the 6 to 6, now you come back and you go 5 of 5 at 85% of your max. So what are you doing now? You're now doing more weight, not as many sets and reps, but you keep doing just an easy workout in between. Well, because I'm real big on bench, squat, and clean, I had to tweak that workout. Okay, how am I going to do this? I want all those 3 of those lifts. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't go, I'm not going to do all. Originally, I used to do all 3 on the same day. Mm-hmm. I was at Hunter High School in the beginning. And I look back on what I put those kids through. These kids are just believing in me. And I had them doing like bench, squat, and clean on a 6 sets of 6 at 80%. And it was a killer.
Yeah, that'd be brutal.
Okay. And it took me clear to tell. So for about 5 or 6 years, it never dawned on me that this might be too much for these kids.
Right.
On just like 2 or 3 of their workouts in a 6-week period. Yeah. Most of it was fine.
Yeah.
But there was a couple workouts that were it was killing them.
Yeah.
And they would do it because I'm a motivator. So they would do everything they could to get every rep and every whatever, Yeah. They're late for their next class, but they were going to get their last reps in, you know what I mean? One of those. So then I'm like going, okay, let's figure this out now. Mm-hmm. How about if let's match up our squat. Let's match up our squat and or do squat by itself on one day. And let's match up our power clean with our bench. So we did power. We'll
just keep going.
We did power clean. We match them up now. Mm-hmm. We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Power clean and bench we match up, and squat is its own day. So
that
now,
makes sense.
so when we start a workout, a new 6-week period, we do all 3 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But you got to remember, every other workout on those is just a really light form workout.
Yeah,
All it is
yeah.
form. So it's not like we're hammering our kids.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've got it tweaked now to the point where, so we will go, when we start a new 6-week program, we will actually do 6 sets of 3 reps on squat on a Monday.
Yeah.
And we do 6 sets of 2 reps on bench, 6 sets of 2 reps on power clean.
Okay.
And we have our kids rotate and do all 3 of the lifts.
Yeah.
So they're doing all 3, and they become really good at it. And okay, but then we'll turn around the next day, and we do a light squat when we're doing a heavier bench and clean. And whenever we do a heavy clean, I knock off 2 sets. And this is just me over the years, because they don't need as many reps to get stronger and better at their power clean as they do on the squat and the bench. They really don't. It's more about form and
with a clean, you have a little bit more of a chance of something happening.
Yeah, you could.
You know, you have with the bench and the squat, you can have a lot more alignment, a lot more, grace in what could go wrong.
Yeah. And we're real big on our spotters and everything are like, so right now, you ought to come over one morning.
That'd be awesome.
In the off season, you want to just come see our kids.
Yeah.
You'd be like going, wow, they counted every rep. So years ago, I used to, in the weight room, I would tell our kids, okay, I want you right there. You got to have your spotters. Anybody that's squatting, I want 2 guys on the side and 1 in the back. I want 4 spotters. I don't want to take any chance on anybody hurting their back or whatever. And if the spotter, the guy lifting, if they go down and they realize they can't get back up, they start to come up, then just go back down, and everybody, the guy behind you will reach under your chest, and the guys on the sides will not just panic, but we'll all bring the weight up together and we'll put it on the rack.
Yeah.
And so you got to teach them how to fell.
Yep.
But they can't be afraid to try a little bit heavier weight, but they got to have faith in their spotters that they'll get it. They'll get it done.
Yeah,
okay?
I really appreciate the fact that you're having them do the form days twice as often as the heavy days.
Yeah, it's like every other. It ends up actually being every other day when you look at it. You're basically going to go.
Yeah.
So like there's some weeks you only go a hard workout like on your squat. Okay, maybe on a Wednesday if you. If Wednesday's a hard squat workout, that meant that you're going to go a little bit harder. When I say a little, it ends up being one where you're stepping it up.
Yeah.
And it just keeps building. And if you don't miss workouts, I'm just here to tell you, you will get better at all of them.
Yeah, that's the key of progressive overload.
And that's what it is. It's progressive
exactly
overload.
What it is.
That's a good way
have to do.
And that's what the whole Soviet powerlifting program was.
Right.
Progressive overload.
Yep.
But it every single time that you did it, and I don't even know what lifts they did it on or whatever.
Right.
And I had to tweak it. So like whenever it's a hard bench and clean day, I always knock off 2 sets. Even if you're doing, so like when you get up to the other end, you get to a point on the upper end where you're doing 4 sets of 4 reps now at 90% of your old max. You're now using some heavier weight, and our kids are getting it. It's not very many sets and reps, but you're now doing definitely a heavier weight.
Yeah.
And so on those days, if that is a clean workout on that day, clean and bench, we're doing 4 of 4 at 90, but we're only doing 2 of 4 on clean.
Yeah.
I always knock off 2 sets off of clean, whatever the workout calls for. And that was me tweaking for high school kids to make it where it just was not unreasonable for them to be able to get it. Yeah. Now they can get it. They feel good. They're and yet I'm still seeing the results in all 3 of their lifts.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense at all.
Totally.
We totally got sidetracked, but I felt like a big part of my life now has been this Soviet weightlifting program that I've tweaked over the years or whatever.
Sure.
And I mean, I have other high schools using it exactly my workout. I mean, they'll come meet with me or ask, hey, can I, Mountain Ridge High School right now is using Coach Peck's, now it's just Coach Peck's version of a 6-week powerlifting program.
Yeah.
6A school that,
Yep.
that are, I mean, Carl, they didn't even know the guy that just got the head job. He's from Juab. Met with him. Anyway, and they're running anyway.
Well, when you get something that works, though, like that's the thing is, you've got the time in, you've done the testing to make sure it's going to be functional. So why wouldn't you want to use it?
I've been in the laboratory a lot, doing tweaking, to the point where my kids at Hunter High School, and Bingham High School, I apologize there in the beginning when I was young for killing you like I did.
Yeah.
No, those kids, I used to lift with the kids. I mean, that was all part of it too, I was, there was a time I was, benching 315 and the kids were, which a lot of guys do a lot more than that. But for me, I was a defensive back, basketball, baseball kid or whatever but I never had hit the weights much at all growing up in high school and stuff. But it was a little bit later that I just started to do more, and just for the heck of it at that point.
Yeah. It's fun. I love it.
So it is.
So my wife's actually a personal trainer, so we spend a lot of time in this space. So that's why I'm interested to hear, when somebody has a concept, I'm like, oh, let's talk about that.
Well, and if you want exactly how we do this workout, I'll share it with anybody. I don't, whatever. I don't.
Great.
Oh my gosh! Honestly, this could end up being like
just a weekly meeting.
We might end up having a weekly show. Okay, we're on Coach Peck's 4th year coaching. 8 weeks later.
Let's. I know a lot of people have wanted to know more about what your plans are here in Sanpete. So maybe let's hit some of that, and then we can come back again whenever, and we can.
Should we do that? Because and then I think. Well, you know what? Let's go. What it was like for me at Bingham, going as an assistant coach after being. I think we could go ahead and go to it, because there's going to be a point there where things are going to be like. Things start to change.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so we went to Bingham. I was, Son Sudbury asked if I would come as his D coordinator. I'm there I ended up coaching for 4 years and then got out for a year. And I'll explain that too. But I was the D coordinator for 3 of the years. And defensively we did well, but the program struggled. Part of it was Bingham was known for their basketball and baseball programs. You had Fred Roberts. You had, there was Axel Hardy, Bruce Hardy. A lot of those guys were basketball, baseball guys, and they won a lot of state championships in the two. And football was the 3rd sport at Bingham. When I went there as an assistant coach in that would have been like 85, 86, as a D coordinator. I want to say we won 2 or 3 games that next year.
Wow.
So we went from, left a program where we had just done really well. Okay. Grace, I had done really well.
Yeah.
I go as the D coordinator at Bingham in football, and I think we win like 3 games. And it was disappointing. And then what you find out is all the best athletes at Bingham, if they were 3-sport kids, a lot of them were just playing basketball and baseball by the time they got to high school. Football was, no question, the 3rd sport at Bingham.
Interesting.
At the time.
Yeah.
Well, each year got just a little bit better. We added maybe a win or 2. And then going into the 4th year, our defense had been really doing doing well for like a couple years in a row. It was defense was good, offense just struggled to score points bad.
Moving the ball, yeah.
So the head coach, Son Sudbury, came to me and said, "Dave, what do you think about calling the offense? You know, you're really regimented. You know, it's probably what we need." He goes, he could do the defense. The defense was already kind of in place and set. We were pretty solid that way. And I go, I don't mind doing that. And so I ended up being the O coordinator for that next year. And we had an even better year. I mean, things started to go good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, during those time when I moved back up and went to Bingham to be closer to my family, my dad retired as a painter for the Salt Lake County. We touched on that, I think,
A little bit.
and he could retire on an early retirement. He was still just like in his 40s or something, but had worked there for like 25 years. They had an early retirement. To go full retirement, you had to put in 30 years. They had some deal where they were cutting back or doing something, an early retirement. If you wanted to leave at 25 years, you could start on your retirement. My dad jumped at it, and we started our own business called Peck Striping.
Yeah.
Okay, this was at the time. And I was the president. My dad was a great painter, but he hated paperwork. He, you know what, I don't want to do any bids. You know what, you do all that stuff and just tell me where you need me to go paint the roads or whatever. And so we started that business when I went back to Bingham. So part of being up there, now I'm with my dad again, and you know, me and him were super close. And I had 3 little sisters, you know, but me and anyway. So Peck Striping, we started Peck Striping. Went out and made it, you know, incorporated it and did the whole thing. And there was a point in those 4 years where we was doing just about all of Salt Lake County. I mean, the cities, Sandy, Riverton, South Jordan, West Valley. Yeah. We was painting all the roads. And just about anybody we painted for, they would do everything they could to get us back, because my dad knew a lot of them when he was with the Salt Lake County, and now it was our own business. And when we said we would be there, we were like 15 minutes early. If we said, anyway, we had a real good working relationship with these cities, and business was just booming. And I'm teaching full time, trying to do bids, trying to work on weekends. I'm up to 3 or 4 little kids at home. They're not quite into all their sports yet, but they're getting ready to all, you know, be active.
Yeah.
And so after 4 years at Bingham, and with my last year being the O coordinator and us making the playoffs for the first time, because back then not everybody made the playoffs. Not everybody got a blue ribbon back in the day for a participation award. And, I mean, now just about every team makes the playoffs, and I liked it like it was, where what good does it do a team that didn't win a game to go get just whooped one more time in the playoffs?
It doesn't help anything.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I would, if I'm over, you know, the activity association, I'm going back to, you know, if there's 8 teams in the league, top 4 go to the playoffs.
Yep.
And the other 4, you know what? Sorry, that's too bad you didn't make it this year. Keep working hard.
Use it as motivation.
There you go.
You know. But
that's a whole nother. We could go talk about that kind of stuff too. But that wasn't where it was at. Well, business was going so good at the time that I couldn't even hardly keep up with my teaching. Yeah. I was coaching football, running the weight room. I decided to take a year off of teaching and coaching. Got out for 1 year, and me and my dad we just did the business, just ran the business. But after being out that year, I realized how much I really did love how much I miss the kids and the coaching, and felt like I was a good example on those kids. And I coached with a couple of coaches. And I'll come out and say, you know, Coach Sudbury was more old school. You know, I mean, you could have a laugh with him, but on the same token, you didn't have a problem grabbing your face mask and, you know, being a hard-nosed coach, because that's how he was coached. Yeah. Okay. And then So I got out for 1 year, and then Hunter High opened up. And a guy by the name of Mike Frazier, which was the head football coach at Granger High School, took the head job at Hunter High. And I had known Mike for a few years. And as soon as he got that job, he called and said, "Hey, would you be interested in being my D coordinator? I just took the head job at Hunter High. I'm hiring John Lamborn as my O coordinator." And I knew who John was. And John was was at Taylorsville at the time, but a young, up-and-coming, good O coordinator.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, I want you to do my defense and John to do the offense, and I'll just be the head coach. And it's a brand new school. We would start from scratch." And I thought about it and went and talked to my dad and just says, "You know what, Dad, I just feel like this is what I am meant to do." I mean, so I still did the business for another year or two, but we ended up selling Peck Striping, and they're one of the biggest striping companies in the state.
Yeah, I was going to say, I still see them, so
oh yeah,
somebody's
they're
doing it.
And one thing that when they bought the company, and it was a real good friend of mine, Russ Morgan, that coached with me just about everywhere that I went, was my O-line coach, and just one of my very closest friends, and helped me establish. Even my personality was a lot to do with what me and Russ wanted to accomplish at different times coaching together. He was a great Little League coach to begin with, right out of high school, 2 years older than me. We graduated from Cyprus High School together, and he would pick me up, take me to football and stuff. And then we ended up staying in touch. And when I started coaching and become a head coach, everywhere I went, he was right there with me. So Russ Morgan was definitely one of my best friends and like a brother, and just a lot of who I am is, because of Russ and our talks and what we wanted to accomplish with kids. Yeah. So that's when I got out. I got out of for 1 year, and I think maybe that's probably a better place because I'd like to share a little bit of what it was like starting a brand new program at Hunter High School as a D coordinator, and we could maybe go on from there. And
I mean that's a big undertaking. Hunter was probably a big high school at the time.
Oh yeah, they were 5A at the time,
5A,
which was the biggest. They didn't have 6A then.
Right. So yeah, you're going into, you're probably pulling from other schools, so you don't even know the talent you're going to get. You don't know what the
no
base is
seniors.
gonna be like.
I want to say we might have had one or two seniors that they knew they were going to play at other surrounding schools. So Hunter High School basically drew from, there was a few Cyprus kids, there was a few Granger, quite a few from the Granger area, and a few Kearns kids. So it was a combination of Kearns, Cyprus, and Granger was the kids that we ended up coaching at Hunter High School. Yeah. And I was there for 5 years, and we can, share a little bit about that. But I will end with this. Mike Frazier was a lot like Son Sudbury. And I mean, they're like mentors. They're guys that are like totally, to this day, are guys that are my closest friends, and I love these guys, but they were a little bit more old school, and they were a little bit more like in some cases, if I have to coach like that, then I don't want to coach. Okay. And nothing demeaning to them. It was, but it was just different for me personally, and they could listen to me say it. I'm not. And I've never said this to them, so if they ever did listen to it, they'd be going, "Oh, and whatever." All the respect in the world. I love these guys, okay? But on the same token, you know what? Their methods were not what made me successful later on in my coaching career, and that I was just didn't, Hopefully, anyway, I think that's a good place to. Yeah.
We can hold there for a minute. You want to talk about North Sanpete for a little bit?
Can if you want.
Yeah, give me just 1 sec. Let's take a quick break. All right, we're back. So you're starting out a program at Granger as
at Hunter
at Hunter. Sorry, Hunter.
I'm not sure where. Okay,
no, sorry, I'm mixing up the names. So you're starting your program out at Hunter. You're coming out of retirement, sort of. I mean, you'd taken a year off. Yeah. And you're the defensive coordinator. Yeah. Getting ready to go. And so, what was that like?
Okay, going to a new school, that was quite the experience. First of all, it was awesome having all brand new weight rooms. So they hired me, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned that I just had to go to my dad. The business was going great.
Yeah.
And I had to go to my dad and just say, Dad, I just feel like I need to be coaching kids after taking a year off.
Yeah.
It made me realize that was what my love was and what, and it didn't have anything to do with money, because if it was all about money, Peck Striping was doing awesome. We were up and coming, and we had all the work we wanted, and it was going good. And the person that, and I think that I said the person that ended up going in with a couple other guys and bought Peck Striping from us, was a guy named Russ Morgan that coached with me.
Yeah.
And even after he took Peck Striping and owned it, he still coached with me everywhere that I went.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an engineer, and we actually hired him the year that I got out to run the business. We hired him because things were going so big. We hired him to come and do our bids and do a lot of that stuff, because I was out painting myself and doing, just busy. And we brought him on, and then when he heard that we was even considering selling the business, he was all over wanting to buy it. And, but the one condition that he had was that the name Peck Striping had to stay with the company. He goes, because I know what a great name you and your dad and your grandpa build up with anybody that you ever come across. So we'll buy the business, but as long as the name stays with it,
that's what we keep the name.
That's what we, which was obviously it meant a lot, still see Peck Striping, trucks out there and vehicles and stuff and whatever. I'll say this: if you go to our stadium, Peck Striping did all the signage down on the board for our 4 big sponsors. We have 4 businesses that are made a 5-year commitment to be involved with our football program.
Sweet.
And I want to say it probably would have been $4,000 or $5,000 in signage that Peck Striping. They do signs, they do all that kind of stuff. And I just called up and said, Russ, his name's Russ Morgan. I just says, hey Russ, we've got a project here that I need help with, and just give me the best deal you can. And had no idea what it was going to come to or whatever. And then in the end, I go, okay, what do we owe you? Good luck with the season, Coach. This one's on us.
That's awesome.
I mean, just that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you run a business like that, with, like you're saying, building up a name and a reputation, and it's successful, I mean, that's everything. That's what makes a business successful.
It is.
And so of course they're going to want to keep the name, but then of course they're going to want, I would hope they would want to pay homage back to the people that started it for them.
Right.
Because they wouldn't be anywhere where they're at without your name.
Okay, so I was at Bingham High School. We talked about that. I went to Bingham. I was there for 4 years. My last year being one of the years that I was an O coordinator. So there was only 3 years out of my 36, 37, whatever years I've coached. I forget. I mean, it gets too many. I can't count them. If I can't count them on my fingers, then it's like too many. No, but out of all those years, I was a defensive coordinator. I ran our defense.
Okay.
My first year when I came to North Sanpete, I ran the offense and helped with defense, but did a lot of it because I didn't know anybody. You know what? And I didn't. I'll be honest with you. I'm a trust person. You know what? And I look at it and I'm going, man, I was so stupid when I was coaching down here at North Sanpete back in the day. I had some guys that had some experience and stuff, and they all had a great experience with me. Don't get me wrong. We had a really good year together and stuff. But I don't know why. Right from the beginning, I was doing way too much, on my own, and probably, like I said, we could have probably been a lot better if I would have used some of the guys more. And I'm sure I would have once we got to know each other, better. I just didn't know anybody at the time and was like, okay, it's my name. I'm going to least for this first year, at least here to begin with, I'm going to run an offense and a defense like I feel like I at least know what it's about and can maybe go do some good things with or whatever. But and then you find out as the bigger it gets and all that, man, you better if you don't surround yourself with some good people, you have no chance of succeeding. You just forget.
Well, I mean, you're sitting there teaching the boys that it's a team sport and it takes everybody, and you're like trying to be the one-man team, you know. You got to have a team coaching, just like you got to have a team.
I learned. So, I mean, and that's all growing pains in the beginning and stuff. But and like a Bull Kiesel is coaching with me again right now, and coached with me when I was 22 years old. And I think just loving it. I know he's loving it.
Yeah.
Being part of it. I think what he loves more than anything is that it's not just about football, that our program is so much more about culture. And I mean, this morning, the kids, like right before we get to school about an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half before everybody else, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then what we do is once school starts, we've been watching film during football. At the end of, we do our workout, and then they run in and grab something to eat out of the cafeteria, and then we go watch either film on our game that we played on Friday or the team that we're going to be playing. Right. Just depends on how each week goes. Yep. Sometimes we need to learn from the game that we played. Sometimes let's just move on to the next team and really zero in on them. Yeah. So that's kind of where what our schedule has been like there. Okay, we need to get back to, or are going to start going right into all of our stuff that's going on here now. Yeah. And I think I would rather have it be like, all right, and this is where I'm at in my life right now. And maybe someday there'll be the rest of the story when, what was it like winning that state championship for the first time or whatever it might be. But, you know what, we'll see what's going to happen, as far as that goes. Okay, so we were at Hunter High School. I think that's where we were at. We were at Hunter High, brand new program. Yep. And we brought in kids from all over, from Cyprus, Granger, Kearns. I think those were the three main schools that fed Hunter High School when we first opened it up. Okay, that first year we go 0-9. Okay, I mean there might have been a couple seniors that knew they weren't going to be playing at their other schools. Right. I want to say there was a couple, but they were very average. I mean, there was no Studley seniors that I recall that came over. But that first year we were competitive. We played and we was in the same league with Bingham and Granger and Kearns. Those were some of the teams that was playing Cyprus back in the day. We go 0-9, but felt like we was really competitive. Okay, and then the next year we have a full off season with our kids. We now have every kid back basically. Right. We go from 0-9, and we had a good coaching staff. It was a good group of guys. Russ Morgan that bought Peck Striping. Yeah. He was at Bingham when I was out for the. So I told you he basically coached wherever I coached. Yeah. When I went to Bingham, he came as our O-line coach at Bingham when I first showed up. Yeah. Came from coaching Little League, but I always told him, if I'm ever coaching in high school and it's up here, I'm calling you to come coach with me. So he came and coached with us at Bingham. I got out for the year. He stayed coaching at Bingham, and then I went to Hunter, and then he came as our line coach to Hunter. So he followed me. Yeah. Okay, and then I was at Hunter, and we'll talk a little more about Hunter, but I was at Hunter for 5 years. And then took the head job at Cyprus High School, my alma mater, which is where me and Russ had both graduated from. And me and Russ both left Cyprus to coach. I mean, both left Hunter to go coach at Cyprus. Yeah,
So,
at the time. So
Hunter High School would have been where you went to school if it was around when you were young.
absolutely, yeah.
Right. And so, how old were you when you were coaching at Hunter?
When I was coaching at Hunter, well, I was 22 down here.
Yeah.
Was at Bingham for 4, so I was about 26, 27 years old.
Okay. So you wouldn't have had kids that were in high school or anything.
Oh, no.
And none of the people, like, you probably wouldn't have known a lot of the parents, or did you know a lot of the parents of the kids that you coached? Since that's where you grew up.
No, not really. I'd been gone for so many. I mean, I'd been gone to college, and now I had a younger sister still that was in school there. I mean, so I knew some people, and definitely knew some of the old timers. That was back from the days when I was playing and stuff. That immediately started following, our program at Hunter.
Right.
When I went to Hunter because of me back in the day and stuff. And
I just wasn't sure how much turnover. I know there's a lot of turnover in that area now. Yeah. And I just wasn't sure if it was a lot then too, or.
Yeah, there was quite a bit. I mean, I would say there was a handful of kids that were related to people, or there was some kind of tie to kids that I grew up with, or not a lot. There was really, by the time I got
it's really,
there,
if anything, just nostalgia of going back there. There wasn't anything as far as like the people went, or it wasn't like leaving Mount Pleasant and then coming back to Mount Pleasant,
where it's the same people, and it's the just different generation.
Yep.
It was a little bit different there.
Okay.
I'll tell you one of the big differences from when I played. There was now a real Polynesian connection.
Okay.
At Hunter High School. Back when I went, there was starting to be more and more Polynesian families moving to Utah and moving to West Valley.
Yeah.
And we had some really good football players that played for us at Hunter High School.
Yeah.
Went on. Matter of fact, one Tafua Bloomfield played at BYU. I mean, played for us at Hunter, and then went on to BYU and had a real good career at BYU. We had a number of good kids, but so there. Let's just talking about Hunter High School. What were the good things there? The good thing for the kids is it was after my first year at Hunter that I changed my weightlifting program because I was having them do all hard bench, squat, and clean on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we'd go hard on a Monday. Wednesday was light on everything. Then we would go hard again on Friday, and then we would come. Anyway, it was there was a point where it was killing the kids, and I was like going, okay, I've got to tweak this or something. And that's when I did, and it was, oh my gosh, it was such a good because the program was really, it was good, but it was too much for high school kids to do all 3 lifts in the same day, which any of us that lift at all, probably not. Way too much leg between power clean and doing a hard squat workout. Whether you did squat first or power clean first, you're going to be a little bit wore out. Bench and power clean, not as much. So you can totally different muscle groups, and you can, I think you can work that out to make it work, which we have obviously over the years. But but those were fun times because I was the D coordinator, but I was the one totally running the weight room again. And it was my baby. It was, and we did what we called, I haven't really even brought this up. We have what we call a top 10 competition that I started. When did I start that? I would have started that probably back at Bingham, the years that I was at Bingham as the assistant. I introduced Bingham Top 10. And there's 10 events, and top 10 has been a huge part of me as a coach at just about every program I've been at. Okay. And that top 10, we have 10 events. We do bench, squat, power clean as the 3 lifts. We do, we'll do like a vertical jump, how high you're vertical. And then there's a point system that basically the point system is all in place. If you can score 3,000, if you can score 300 points on any one event, you're doing like really good. Yeah. So like we do a 2-minute jump rope. Okay, so if you can jump the rope over 300 times in 2 minutes, that's pretty good. I mean, not that now. The way good is like we've had. I think our record probably is close to 400.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're over 300 in 2 minutes, just sitting there jumping the rope, and you know, and if you mess up, oh well, that's just you got 2 minutes no matter what, and it's putting some pressure on you to get it done. So we do a 2-minute jump rope. We do vertical jump, and you get so many points per inch. But so a 30-inch vertical, I think it's 10 points per inch. Okay. So a 30-inch vertical would put you at
like the perfect score
at the 300. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and not even a perfect score. You can be over 3,000. So when you take all 10 events and you take how many points, if you're over 3,000 points on the top 10. To me, you're a college type caliber. Gotcha. You got strength, quickness, speed, endurance. Yeah. Okay, because as we go through the other thing on our top 10, and I have people still to this day, my own boys, I had 3 boys. We've talked about that already. I don't want to start even go there again because I'll start crying again. Like I haven't cried nearly as much in this episode, I guess is what we're calling it, as I did the last one. Last one we talked about too many personal things that was like that hit home. And
yep.
But my boys, my Tyler and Justin, they still do top 10. They'll do the events because they want to see who's still the better athlete.
Right.
And they'll get their friends that played college football, or even now friends that are doctors and like in the medical field with them, and going, hey, do you want to do this we're going to train for the next 6 weeks. We're going to do a 6-week weightlifting program, and then we're going to test ourselves on what we have 10 events that we used to do in high school. And it was our top 10 that I created 100 years ago, and every year it become Hunter top 10, and then it come Cyprus top 10, and then Bingham top 10. We now have North Sanpete top 10.
Awesome.
Okay. And I guess while we're talking, it's important to know what all those events are, but it's a bench, squat, power clean, 1 point for each pound that you get.
Okay.
One. So, yeah, some real strong kids might be able to squat 400 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
Okay. Not very many kids are going to be benching 300 pounds.
That's a lot.
Maybe some of your high school, your best kids might be doing it. It's real strong, big linemen might be doing it. And power clean, I mean, if you have my best power clean for a high school kid ever was 355 pounds, which was a really good, and he was my kicker.
Oh, really?
Justin Sorensen, and he ended up being kicked for BYU.
Oh, cool.
Has a state record right now, 63-yard field goal when I was coaching him.
Dang.
He had the state record. I don't think it's been beat as far as I know. That's still the Utah state record, 63-yard field goal in a game.
Dang.
But he was the kid that power cleaned 355 pounds.
Wow.
And his butt was almost touching the floor when he caught it. But now you got a front squat.
Yeah.
355 pounds.
Yeah. That's substantial.
Yeah, I mean he was a strong kid, obviously, and yeah. But it's funny how if you've never been into lifting, if what I'm saying, if you have been into lifting a little bit, that's pretty good.
Yep.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So bench squat, power clean, then we do vertical jump, so many inches. You get so many points for inches. Okay, then we do jump rope, 2-minute jump rope, 1 point per rep. We do a step up. We use the bottom bleacher of a gymnasium, and you got 1 minute as many times as your feet can go up and down on that bleacher, but both feet touching and both feet down is
that's
one.
What I was going to ask, yeah. Both feet are 1 foot at a time.
Well, it's not a hop.
Yeah.
So you're stepping. It's 1 foot at a time, but to get your count, it's you would have to. I'd almost have to show you, but it's every
up, down, down.
Yeah, up, down, down, up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but so and on that one, it's that one's really hard. You get 4 points per step up.
Okay.
But it all comes out like, I mean, if you ever, I mean, like, I think the best I've ever had was maybe 90, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a lot.
when you, yeah, well, and it's a killer. Oh my gosh, it rips your legs. It's when you're trying to get as many as you can in 1 minute, it's like, oh, your legs are gone by the time you're done with it. So we do that. That's one of ours. We do dips, okay, and they get 10 points for each dip. So I mean, if you can do 30 dips, but you got to break parallel. You got to break the 90.
Yep.
And you got to be locked, and we got to see the elbow pop.
Okay.
And if not, we don't count it. We don't count it. So we're really strict on what we count. Then we have what we call an agility run. You start on your back. Mm-hmm. You got to explode off your back. You put a hand down, go around a cone, then you back pedal. Then you got to go from back pedal to sprint forward. It's called back in the day, it was called the Nebraska agility drill. Uh-huh. I used it when I was in high school with my high school and that ended up being my college coach.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And that was and we did it when I was in high school. And I thought, you're using different muscle groups. Again, getting off your back as fast as you can is a whole new set of coordination and how fast you can get up and go. It's a real good. Anyway, anyway, we're going in and out of the cones. And I've done that one. It started my high school days and is where I come up with that one. Uh-huh. So when I come up with a top 10, that all started when I was in high school. My coach did a little event where he didn't call it top 10, but he had like 5 or 6 events, and we would just over a 2-day period in the springtime, I can't even remember what we called it or whatever, but he was tested us, and that's where I come up with the idea to come up with a top 10. And I started it when I was an assistant coach at Bingham High School, and everywhere I've ever gone now, and most of the schools, even when I leave, continue to do the top 10 and keep track of. I've got every record from every kid. Like when I was all the years at Bingham, I've got all my top 10 records. I've got all my records from, because we started doing it when Rhett was the head coach at North Sanpete. So we have some records of our top 10, and of course we've started it up again now. Our kids know we have the North Sanpete top 10, and they know exactly what the top 10 is. Did I miss any? Oh, the 40-yard dash. 40-yard dash. And so if you can run, I want to say like for 300 points, you got to run like a 4.7. I want to say it's a 4.7, 40, 4.6, 4.7, something like that. But so everything I did when I come up with the points, and it's all on a spreadsheet, it's all locked into an Excel program where I can just punch in what they got.
And it gives you the points and everything. And
then they get their totals, the whole bit.
Sweet.
But it's really, it's a cool thing, because you know what? The more you can have kids compete against themselves, okay, and there's a point total at the end. So my freshmen, I've got every freshman that competed this last year, I'm going to be real curious by the time they're seniors what those scores look like. And you can't tell me we're not going to be more competitive. We're going to be faster. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be in better shape. Just by kids wanting to be better at their top 10. If nothing else.
Well, and it's also that would be a great thing if you could have like the student body do it in like PE as a freshman. You can get an idea of who's athletic,
Wouldn't that be cool?
Get an idea
I've never
what's going on.
Never had that happen. But it would be that would be a good thing, you know. And like I said, if there's any, like, I mean, I know you guys run fitness stuff and that, right? I mean, and if there's ever anything that we do or whatever you want to look at, or I mean, just know I'm
sure. I mean, that's structured very similar to the military test.
But it's all stuff that I've just come up with over the years that have been what makes me different. You know what? I mean, we'll get to this later, but I mean, I'm sitting there with Jim Harbaugh in my weight room at Bingham, and he's looking at all around the room at the sayings and our power board, we call it, and all the kids that can, what their lifts are, and our top 10. And he goes, "What's this top 10?" And I start to explain it and how I come up with it and all that. And anyway, he leaves. This is when he was at Stanford, but he leaves going, "Okay, there's two things sitting with you today, Coach Peck. I'm taking back to Stanford."
Dang.
This is Jim Harbaugh. They're recruiting. Twice I sat with him. He invited us back to Stanford, and all these. That'll be another story, coming up. But
sure.
But how? I mean, I would bet you I could call Jim Harbaugh right now, and he would call me back within the next hour.
Dang.
I mean, if he couldn't answer right now, Jim Harbaugh would call me back.
That's some clout.
Well, and I've only done it one time where I was with some people, and they were huge Michigan fans when he was at Michigan. And I go, I know Jim Harbaugh like pretty good. We've spent time together, and he's recruited my kids, and I guarantee has a lot of respect for what I've done or whatever. And they're going, and anyway, and one thing led to another, whatever. And they're going, "You're so full of crap, you don't know Jim Harbaugh, or whatever." And I pull up, and I got his cell number, and there's no way I would ever. They're going, "Yeah, anybody could put something like that in their phone," and it to the point where it was ticking me off. You know what? and so I hadn't talked to him for a while, and I decided, okay, I'm going to give him a call. And they're going, "Yeah, right. That's not." And I called him because it was when I was helping Rhett down here. I was not at Bingham anymore, but I was helping Rhett. Jim Harbaugh is like, when I put for the head job at Weber State, head job at Southern Utah at certain times. Mm-hmm. And Jim Harbaugh was one of my references. And guarantee he would have called and told anybody. I mean, anything I needed, he would have
he was right
supported me just in the time that we got to know each other and what I was about and how we run things and whatever. But so that was an interesting story. I called Jim Harbaugh on his cell phone. He didn't answer right then. I was with these guys, and within about 3 minutes, he called me right back. These guys were like, "Oh my gosh,
you do."
And he's going, and he was like, "Hey, Coach, what's going on? I saw you called. Sorry, I was in a meeting. And what's going on?" I go, "Hey, well, I just want to let you know I'm coaching at another school now. I retired and because I hadn't talked to him since I left Bingham, and I thought, you know what, and I was irritated by these guys going like, no way, and he goes, "Well, I would love to have you guys come out to Michigan, come out like you did at Stanford." With some guys, that would be. He goes, "We'll go out to dinner again," and
that's cool.
Anyway, so
the top 10 sounds great. Like it's actually like a pretty good mix of because you're gonna have those kids like you're saying that can do heavy weight, but they're not necessarily gonna be able to do the agile things as quickly.
Oh, you just picked up on that. A lot of people would go, "Well, that's not fair. Those little kids, those smaller guys." That when you're doing like a point per pound for bench squat and clean, and you expect those guys your DBs and that to compete with your linemen, what's up with that? Well, you got to hear the rest of the story.
It's only half.
There's a mile run is one of ours.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fair. Those little guys are going to be way better than those big guys. Oh, they are 40-yard dash.
Yeah.
Oh. Little guy might have a little bit advantage.
Yep.
But in the weight room, those bigger guys, you're right.
Yeah.
They better get theirs while they can.
Exactly.
And that's in the weight room.
Yeah.
So who do you think our top 10 usually? It's going to be like that linebacker, the strong, endurance, speed athletes, which is everything that we want to make you better football players. I mean, anyway, that's been I think that's been a huge thing in my success over the years. So there's some things between that Soviet powerlifting.
Yep.
I like to say Coach Peck's powerlifting.
Yep.
No, at this point, but I have tweaked it enough that it probably is. It's more. It's on. No question. It's tweaked enough that it's mine. But I will always give. Not that I like the Soviet Union, but that is exactly what it was called in the magazine, the 6-week Soviet weightlifting power program.
Yeah.
And I was like, wonder what this is.
I mean, that's where grease in the gear came from. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's just like, that's used by the military all over the place. But it's like everywhere you go, you stop and do push-ups because you need to grow push-ups. And so in the morning you get up and they make you do push-ups. You go to lunch, they make you do push-ups. You do something wrong, they make you do push-ups and stuff. It's just like throughout the day, you do reps throughout the day, and you're going to get better and better every time.
Which is, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like called grease in the gear, and that came out of Russia too. So, I mean, they have great ideas. Like, it's really interesting to hear where everything comes from and like the concepts that you get from each different country of how they want to prep for something.
Yeah.
So, well,
I'm one that just sharing like some of these things that over the years I think have been, what got me to the point where, I had the strongest program in the state of Utah for a number of years and could compete with anybody in the country. I mean, well, it was, that's what you're hearing, as far as, I mean, at Hunter High School, we went from 0-9 to playing in the semifinals the next year.
Dang, that's a stark difference.
We now had the Hunter Top 10.
Yep.
We had the 6-week Hunter powerlifting program.
Yeah.
Our kids now were getting stronger. You know what? We went and won weightlifting competitions, and all of a sudden we stepped on the football field, and we went from 0-10 to like the next year. I think we went like 12-2, lost in the semis.
Yeah.
At the highest level. Skyline beat us. And that was when Skyline was at the highest level and still winning state championships. Mm-hmm. So, and then Hunter for a lot of years was one of the top programs in the state while we were still involved with it. And then for a few years, even after I left to take the Cyprus job, John Lamborn stayed and took the head job at Hunter High School. When Mike Frazier got out, and I mean, we've remained close. And then it's funny because we both ended up at Bingham together from our days coaching together at Hunter High when it first opened. We ended up, he's my old coordinator, I'm the head coach, and I'm the D coordinator. And
is there, up to this point, we talked about Grace a little bit on like your schedule and how everything functioned, and so when you left Grace and you went to North Sanpete and then you went to Bingham and then Hunter, did you keep that same concept where you were like did you do things after school? Like, were you always after hours and always, as invested as you were with the boys as you were in Grace?
Yeah.
Is that a common theme through your career?
I would say that some of the programs that made it easier, some of the smaller schools didn't have as much time or put aside for athletics, so we couldn't get done everything that we wanted to get done. So at that point we would do either early morning. Everywhere I've ever been, it's been off season has usually been like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, depending on what the schedule. I mean, immediately down here, we were 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 in the morning, because you can't go build something special if you haven't put in the work.
Yeah.
You need to. I mean, it's just like anything.
Yep.
And at that point, we needed that time, too, to get to know each other and expectations. And I'm still, I mean, the kids down here, if you was at our game the other night in pregame, before the game even started, I don't swear or cuss, but I'll tell you what, parents and kids saw another side of me because there was some things that were not appropriate as we was getting off the bus with our kids, a couple of them, and our kids were totally overlooking, not showing the other team respect, which does not happen in my program. And I think the parents were like going, oh my heck, as I was lighting my team up in pregame over at Carbon.
Yeah.
For not having any clue how to get ready for a game and how to show another team respect.
Right.
And I was thinking we were going to get it handed to us and that you deserve to get it handed to you. just things. And I won't go into any detail or kids or anything like that. But I know the parents that came early were going, oh my heck. Coach Peck, he's on one. And you know what? And we took care of business. If you would have seen me this morning, if you would have been a fly on the wall, you'd have been like, I mean, we got Manti this week. And so far we've played 2 games and the 2 games that we've lost, okay, it isn't nearly as much about the other team as our kids either having some mental thing, they're afraid, they're whatever. They don't even play close to what they're capable of. And we get off to terrible starts and in our 2 losses. And the teams are not that much better. I mean, Cedar's really a good football team. Richfield, we can play with them. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm just like, and we got Manti this week, which Manti was picked 1 or 2 in the state in 3A, and and they got a lot of talented kids coming back, and they're good, but they've had some injuries, so their record isn't as good. But I can see it coming right now where our kids are going to go down and just roll over for them because that's what they're supposed to do, and everybody expects them to do that. Well, I'm trying to fight that every bit that I can, and if you'd have been there this morning, you'd have been like, and at the game on Friday, I'm trying to change a culture and get you to compete. Yeah. Okay? And even to the point where a couple kids that, said some inappropriate things on the bus, I'm this close to saying, you're no longer with us, and they know and they're good players.
That's the whole thing. I mean,
it doesn't matter. I mean, I will weed out any bad eggs that if you don't want buy-in, okay, there's the door. I don't care how good you are. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You're give me these kids that are going to totally buy into what we want, and you watch where this program goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'm seeing that's been kind of a common thread through your entire coaching career that we've been through so far is that you love and respect the kids, but you also hold a standard. Oh. And that's like the key to anything with youth.
Accountability.
You have to have a standard, and the standard has to stay because as soon as it wavers, it's gone.
That's probably my one of my biggest strengths is that I don't know that I'm the best X's and O's and all that, whatever. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to creating a culture, I feel like I'm pretty darn good at that.
Well, and it seems like you're giving the boys a reason to be a team. Like you want to work together. You want to build your strength. You want to spend time together and grow relationships. You want to give them a reason to compete with themselves to get better as a person rather than get better, just comparing to other schools and other people.
So like if one of my football kids even right now, and my whole career said, hey, I've been doing this weightlifting program with these other people at this club or at this and I'm like going, no. I don't even want you to go do that extra stuff because we run a great program and your teammates need to see you doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You want to gain the respect of everybody around here? Okay. Yeah. Well, it's not that you can just, bench 400 pounds or whatever. Okay. I'm sure whatever you're doing is great because you're strong, you're athletic, whatever, but you're not gaining the respect of your teammates. By going and working out with other people at some club or some other place or whatever. We gain respect for each other by showing up every day on time and it's not even about the lifts being that much better or whatever. Yeah. It's totally about all the other stuff.
Yeah, because when you grind together like that, you build a relationship that's different than just hanging out.
I'd say.
And so, like, that's the most important thing with any of it is, like, you want to build a group of guys that's going to stay together, make them go do hard things together.
And I feel like that's been a real something I've been really good at convincing my kids that I'm not saying that there's not great programs out there that you might not even be better going and doing some of this stuff. But I'm just saying to our football team, you going and working out hard somewhere else and us not seeing it, okay, is counterproductive. Yeah. And if you want to do that, go do that. But I don't see how you're going to fit into my program because we're about each other.
Well, and it's hard when you have a team sport like that where it's like it's all or nothing together. You know, you might grow as an individual doing this other thing, and it might be really good for you and your career later in the future. But in order to get to that, you have to be a team. You have to show the world that your team can function together before people are going to consider you.
Well, and I think, you know what, that the other part of it is my track record speaks for itself. Yeah. I mean, it's 100%. Like, you know what, what we do here, you know, at Bingham or North Sanpete or whatever, okay, what we do together and what the kind of program we run can get us to the top. Yeah. And you know what, if you can't see that that's how my whole career has been, I mean, I'm not taking, we're not cutting any corners here at all. Trust me. Yeah. I don't care what newfangled things they got out there that they can get you to jump higher and run faster, whatever. Okay. What we're doing right here. Okay. It's proven over time
tried and true.
that it's going to get you, it can get you into a major college. It can get you into, you know, getting you drafted as another number 13th player picked in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
That's how good this program can be if you want to buy into it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, and that to me, like you're saying.
And of course, I'm talking of other programs and that, not where we're at necessarily right now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We're in that early stages or whatever, but it's been good though too. So let's at least get through Hunter High School,
okay,
and then we'll wrap it up. So Hunter High, by that next year, we ended up playing in the semifinals against Skyline and lost in the semifinals. And I want to say our record was 11-2. I mean, we might have played 10 regular season games and 3. I think it was like maybe 11-2, maybe something like that. Okay. Anyway, I think we only lost 2 games that year.
Yeah.
So definitely
way better.
That's way. You're a math guy, right? Was you really good in math?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right.
We went 0-9 to 13. Let's see, 11-2.
Yeah,
that's a good percentage.
Yeah,
that's
substantial.
Obviously, I'm just joking around, but no, it was good. And then for the next 2 years, we were good, like region champs. So I was at Hunter High School for 5 years, okay? And I want to say going into our 4th year, Mike Frazier decided to get out as the head coach, okay? And we had me and John Lamborn was his O coordinator and his D coordinator. And so the job opened up and me and John Lamborn both put in for the head job. And they ended up choosing John. John had been a Granite School District guy and was a great athlete, in the district, and was, you could have gone with either one of us.
Sure.
But I knew that, at that point when I didn't, and I'd been offered a couple other head jobs, even as an assistant at Hunter High, I had opportunities to leave, and even principals going, hey,
right.
Would you put in for this job? And I'm like, nah. For one thing, I was a West Side kid. I had chances to go to a couple East Side schools, and wasn't going to happen. No, I was raised too much on the West Side that I had a little stigma that was, you know what? No, if I'm going to go take a head job, it's going to be at a school more on the West Side.
Yeah.
Because I do hold a grudge against, people that have more money and more whatever and it all, and then it comes out in sports and someday I'm going to show that it's not about money, that we can beat anybody on the East Side and that was when Skyline was just super good, and Alda was good, and Bingham was still this side of Redwood Road, so Bingham I was okay with, you know what, but anything further, I that sounds so like childish and just, I mean, I know it does. It really does. But you know what? It was, hey, I grew up a mag playing for Cyprus, and it was when people looked down on us all the time, and you know what? And there was more than one fight that broke out because, something was said about this or that. And okay, well, we'll show you type of, it's kind of how I grew up. And
well, I mean, that whether people are, like, whether you feel that way or not, when you grow up in a difference, when there's rich versus poor, or however you want to segregate it, it makes a difference. It affects you, because you're there and you're doing the best you can, and you're doing the things that they're doing, but they're saying that they're so much better, and you're like, we're the same.
I didn't know what camps were. I didn't know that you could go learn to be better in football, basketball, or baseball. You know what? Yeah. All I knew is out there in the sandlot playing with my buddies and stuff. You know what? And then all of a sudden people turning their nose down on us and making fun of, because we lived on the west side out in Magna. You know what? And that's how I grew up. You know what? And it was a real thing, whether it was real or not. You know what?
Yeah. In
my mind, it was real, and I couldn't get over it. It was something that I'd still. I mean, there would be times with my Bingham teams where we would watch an Alda or a Skyline, or it wouldn't matter who, that just pummeled one of the Kearns or Granger or whatever, and then we knew we were going to be playing them in the next week or in the playoffs or whatever. And you don't think that it was like, okay, we represent the West Side school, that those East Siders cannot, rub our nose in it.
Yeah.
Okay. For all the schools over here with it, that those guys are running up the score and beating them 60-0. Okay. They're going to get theirs this week. I mean, well, and you know what? And a lot of times they did. Yeah. I mean, my kids were, at one point, Bingham, I mean, and we're not to that point yet or whatever, but Bingham become the school on the west side that you wanted your kid to go to, because it was a great program, were high expectations, and just, it was the real deal. And kids were going on and being drafted in the NFL, and
Yeah, I mean, rivalry, as long as it's not taken to an extreme, like, you don't want it to, like, leave the field necessarily. You don't want it to be like getting into street fights or anything, but rivalry, like, iron sharpens iron.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you want to be good, you got to play the best.
But during that same time, here was the difference. Back when I was in high school and stuff, you know what, we would take it personal, and you know what, it would be like, and if we were around some other guys, it might turn into a brawl or whatever, because it was just, whereas what I tried to build at Bingham was, within our inner circle and in that room or whatever, we're going to play with a passion that they have no idea where it came from. Okay. But at the same time, we're going to show respect. We're going to help them up after the play. But when that whistle, if that whistle hasn't blown, okay, they will be taken out. And they decided that they wanted to come play this game this day. Well, they will pay the price.
But it's like you're saying, you have those rules or those lines where it's like, we're going to show respect and we're going to be the right people. But when everything's like, all gloves are off when the whistle's not blown, we're going to go hard.
Once we snap the ball, there's no place for them to hide. Okay. And you just sat there and watched. You just sat and watched that team right there just continue to throw the ball and run the score up and make fun of some other kids that don't have what we have.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see some of my football meetings got pretty good. I mean, it was like, I remember playing Lone Peak. I can't remember, something happened in a Lone Peak game one year, and boy, they were showing us up, and it was something was going on or whatever. And the next year we met them in the semifinals, and everybody just felt like it was the game of the year. And let's just say our kids were so on edge. Oh, it was like one of these meetings, like I'm just kind of, pointing something out to you. And I don't even remember what it was that happened or whatever, but I just remember we went out and played about a perfect football game and just beat them up, and nobody expected it.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, it'll be fun to talk about some of those stories too, the little bit as we go along. But so Hunter High, they ended up hiring John Lamborn when Mike Frazier got out, and I stayed with John for another year. We both put in for the head football job at Hunter High, and they hired John, and John was I could have gone with either one of us. Really. But they ended up, and I stayed with him for 1 year after, and I let him know though that I would be, at that point I would be looking for I would be, if the right head job come along, I would probably, I would be looking. And then we went out and we had a good year together, and that was my 5th year at Hunter. And then Copper Hills opened up, the brand new high school, Copper Hills, and Cyprus, my alma mater at the time. The head football job opened up also there. And so then I had to make a decision, which one did I want to go for. And I could have gone to the brand new high school, and the principal was calling me going, because I'd spent time at Bingham. We knew people in the Jordan School District, and they were like, will you please put in for this Copper Hills job? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to or not, because I'm debating right now between the new high school and going to my alma mater and putting in for the Cyprus job, where I spent time there. And when it come right down to it, you know what? I decided I'm going to go give back to my school. And I took the head job. I was there for 5 years, and that's really what it kind of come down to. I really think I had a really good shot at being the first head football coach at Copper Hills, and who knows what that program would have been like.
Right.
I can almost guarantee you there would have been some Polynesian families and stuff like that, which probably would have followed maybe a little bit, because that's what happened at Bingham, really. I mean, it ended up being families from the Hunter days and the Cyprus days that parents wanted more at that point. They wanted their kids to play for me and John Lamborn. I mean, that's really...
So when you have somebody like you that's coming up, and clearly you're doing something right, and even if you're not at this point sending kids to the NFL,
right,
you're creating a culture, and you're creating a program that the kids want to be a part of, and it keeps them out of other things, and keeps them in a good place, and it builds their character. So I completely can see how parents would be like, hey, that guy does something awesome. I want that guy to be spending time with my kids. That's
how Bingham kind of become Bingham, really, in football, was that kind of we had some good families. They moved into South Jordan. That was that important to them, that they wanted that kind of stuff to happen. And there was, even in between there, I raised my family in Riverton. And Riverton High was built like right around that same time. And that was one of the most crushing things. I was coaching Little League Baseball. I had 3 boys coming up, knew everybody in that Riverton area. Yeah. And that's where Riverton was just splitting off of Bingham, because Bingham and Riverton were all one. That was all Bingham area. Yeah. And then Riverton was built. And I thought for sure I was going to get the head football job there, and I knew a lot of people in the community. And I didn't get it. That was a hard one. And then it's funny how things work out, because the next year the Bingham job opened up, and I was the new head football coach at Bingham, which the Riverton had just split off. And let's just say it turned out a lot better for Bingham than it did Riverton in the long run.
Yeah.
I'm not a cocky, arrogant person or anything.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right, yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like, and there was so many people though in that Riverton community that they knew how I was, and they wanted me to be that football coach. And
Yeah.
and when I didn't get, and they hired a really good guy by the name of Rick Bojack, ended up going as the first head football coach at Riverton High School. He was at West Jordan, had been at Jordan before that, and was really a good man and a good coach. But it didn't make it any easier. I didn't care who, it didn't matter. Who it was. I just felt like I was the right person for that job at that time. Living in the community, been coaching the kids in Little League baseball.
Yeah.
All of my kids were coming up, three good athletes, along with all their friends. And you know what, I'll be honest with you, some of those, even when we moved to South Jordan, some of those Riverton kids ended up at Bingham. And I promise there was no recruiting on my part, but
Right.
they knew what I was about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it hurt their program. I mean, over the long run.
Right.
At some point, I just think that was probably the case. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let alone coaching staff, but just when you have a coach that's that powerful, that's drawing kids their families are willing to move to have their kids in the program.
Yeah, and at that point, I don't know that anybody knew if that was going to happen.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I was a head coach, but I don't know that people, because I was a head coach at Cyprus at that point. And honestly, at Cyprus, we didn't have the athletes that we did at Hunter. And we made the playoffs every year but one in my 5 years there. But that was back in the day where not everybody made the playoffs.
Yeah. So it's still impressive.
Yeah. So my time, I guess that'll be our next thing is kind of how did things go at Cyprus, which is maybe where we just pick it up next time.
Yeah, that'll work.
We've only made it through a few years on today's.
I know. That's right. We've had a lot of tangents that were good tangents.
Oh, we did go off on some things.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it. So
that can be, and wait, is that what you call a tease? That's going to be like, okay, we're going to hear more about that.
Yep. Now you get the rest of it next time.
No, in all seriousness, though, like there's some of that stuff with people had to hear that Grace Idaho story.
Yeah.
Did they not? Is that not?
Completely agree.
There's how my coaching career started. I mean, that freshman team, oh my gosh, this was a group of kids I'd never coached before.
Yeah.
And I just, these kids would have done anything for, I had that kind of relationship with kids right from the time I was out of college.
Yeah. Well, and it shows your ability to coach just as a coach, not as a football coach. Because
it was basketball.
You coached basketball.
It was basketball. And they were all going, oh my gosh.
Right.
There is no way this team is ever even. That can't happen. That would not happen.
Yeah. So, I mean,
2 losses we had.
That's great. That was a great story to have, and I appreciate you sharing. So,
yeah, that was my first head, because I was the head freshman coach, had no assistants. It was just me and those kids.
Yep.
And that's how my coaching career really. I mean, I did football, but I was just helping.
Yeah.
And that 9th grade group, that's probably why it was so hard for me to leave them.
Yeah.
And how Roy Matthews to this day is still one of my closest, friends, and we keep in touch. And he's went on and done. I mean, if he's I think he might be the superintendent down there. He's either assistant superintendent or is even moved up more. But that tells you what kind of person he is.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know what? I'd like to think that I had just a little bit to do with the person that Roy Matthews was. And if he was here right now, I think he would. I would love him to share the milk story.
Great. Well, we'll wrap it up there for today.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.